You're having a great one. Thanks for joining us today as we get the week started after a busy sports weekend. We are joined again by our ray of sunshine here in the studio, Amy Fadul. Aim, what's going on?
Great weekend. Hope you had a good one, too.
Awesome. Sorry to hear that there was a loss in the household, little baseball
game loss. Yeah, tough one. They played well overall in their tournament, but no, they unfortunately had a tough one on a Saturday morning.
Congrats on a great season.
Yes.
Yeah, to young Sean, who was in studio with us last week, which we loved. Tom Alvord is sitting in for Ray Dunn, who decided to do travel abroad. Tom, how are you, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
All
How
good?
we doing?
Hi, Tom.
Ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go. We get it started. Front page news.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
All right, you're fighting Phils. Didn't start too well on Friday, but they wind up taking 2 of 3 against the Arizona Cardinals with yesterday's 4-1 win in what was a brutally hot day.
Woo.
As I mentioned on the crossover, we did a walk yesterday for Crohn's. My daughter has Crohn's, so we did a walk over at Lincoln Financial Field. And, oh, my God, I don't know how those players were playing. Like, I laugh about it. Like, it's a game we're all used to playing when it's that hot. Man, that's hot. We look at players as robotic sometimes. Man, they had to be suffering through that yesterday. At 11:30 in the morning, it was 91 degrees when that game started. So, Christopher Sanchez, he's got a new contract. So he says, yeah, let me go out and throw 7 innings of 3-hit ball with no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts on just 80 pitches. A great, great outing by Sanchez as he gets the extension on Saturday. It was a 4-year, $22.5 million contract. Pretty good.
Very good.
For a 4th/5th pitcher, what we thought he used to be, but solid 4th starter for you now. Harper, Bohm, Dahl, they all had 2 hits yesterday. Dahl had a big 2-run single in the 6th to break it open 3-0. Bryce Harper in the series went 7 for 13, 3 runs scored, 2 doubles, a homer, and 3 RBIs. So the Phillies have now won 4 of 6, and you say, oh, cool. But then you realize they're also 6-7 in their last 13 games. So, that's just baseball. They're 51-26 now. .662 winning percentage is the best in the National League and the best in all of baseball right now as the Yankees and Orioles have fallen behind them. Nick Castellanos in his last 6 games, for people that, we were tried to be taught patience by Larry Boa. You and I, Amy, when we were at the Brian Dawkins golf outing. Well, I think Castellanos is starting to make us believe in that as he's 11 for his past 23, 3 runs scored, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. In those last 6 games, his average went from 204. He's now up to 226. We'll see how that all plays out. They're now 7 up on the Braves. All right, we do this every Monday, right? Aim, the first time we started, they were 6.5. A week later, they were up 10. Last week, they were up 8. Now they're up 7. So that's the kind of fun scoreboard watching I like to do. Still up 7. In the last 4 weeks, they've gained a half a game. So look at it that way. Little minor things that go on. Tonight, 6:40 in Detroit. Aaron Nola, 8-3 with a 3.54 ERA. But his last 2 outings have looked like this, Aim. 9 2/3 innings, 15 hits, 11 earned runs, and he's given up 2 home runs. So hopefully Nola will be able to turn it around tonight. The Phillies go against right-hander Casey Mize, 0-1, 450. He hasn't gone past 6 innings all season. They throw him out there and hope to get, at most, 6 out of him. Tomorrow, 6:40 start in Detroit. Ranger Suarez goes. And then on Wednesday, at 1:10, we get the return of the rotation of Spencer Turnbull.
Love it.
As Taijuan Walker goes down to the injured list with a hot spot. People call it a blister. So it was funny when
That's a fun term for blister.
Yeah, well, it's a little different. And what's his name? Kevin Stocker yesterday, I thought, did a really cool job of explaining it on the radio because I was driving home from the walk while the game was going on. And it's a spot on your hand that you can't see. We normally think of blisters on top of the skin and it shows and all that. He said a hot spot is when it's underneath the skin. And he said it's extremely painful. And that's what Walker has. Stocker said you could get it on your – I don't know if he said he had it on his feet or people have had it on their feet. where it's really painful, but there's nothing there to see. It's underneath the skin. So Taijuan Walker goes on the, I believe, 15-day injured list is what they put him on.
Correct,
so
yes.
We'll see. Okay, good. We'll see how that all plays out. 76ers, you got your NBA draft on Wednesday. We're going to have Tyrone Johnson and D. Lynham down doing coverage from the practice facility in Camden. Amy, I know you're also going to be there. Yeah, I might pop down. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but I might pop down to that. So still no real goings on as far as like hot rumors, or, you know, we had the Paul George thing last week that he wanted to opt in and then get traded, and how does that affect the Sixers and all. It's still kind of a sit back and see what happens. Whether it makes you nervous or confident, I don't know, but we'll talk about it a little bit today. Eagles, yeah, they report now less than a month away, Tom, as it's July 23rd, and we're at the 24th. So
one day closer.
That's the big news that we got going on with the Eagles. Of course, other huge news, and I'm wearing the hat today because of it. Philadelphia Flyers, Matvei Michkov gets out of his contract in the KHL. It looks like he's going to be coming over for this next season, being reported by a lot of the real good NHL reporters around the league. So that's pretty cool. We'll talk about that a little later on. As I said, Jordan Hall from NBC Sports Philadelphia, he's going to join us at noon to talk to us a little bit about that. On the national front, this is cool. These three words always have gotten me since I was a kid because it's one of the most exciting things in sports. Hockey Game 7. And this isn't just a Game 7. This is for the Cup is in the house tonight. It will be in Florida as Edmonton and Florida are 3-3. Edmonton with an unbelievable down 0-3 comeback, and this is what it's all about. I love NHL Game 7. Scotty Scheffler, for those golf fans out there, all he did was he won the Travelers Open yesterday. He's won 6 of the last 10 tournaments he's played in. It's getting Tiger-like, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
Ask.
I was reading you guys the numbers of most wins in a season by a golfer. Vijay Singh one year won 9 tournaments. So did Tiger one year. And then Tiger won 8 twice. And then he won 7 twice. And then he won 6. Like, Tiger's just all above the leaderboard. But Scotty Scheffler takes that to go 6-10. Angel Reese's team yesterday beat Caitlin Clark's team yesterday. Seems like they're playing each other all the time.
Exactly.
Which is good for the WNBA. But I still have a lot of fun watching that league. And it was funny. I was at a party this weekend, and a guy came up to me. He goes, let me ask you a question. How come the WNBA is getting so much watch now? It can't just be because of Caitlin Clark. And then his question was, and do you think when people start to watch it, whether it's because of her or not, they're going to stick to it? And I said, if they like sports, they are.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, to me, it's just fun to watch. So that's what we got going on the front page today. So, Aim, your Philadelphia Phillies, they just keep rolling. I thought it was kind of important to have a good showing against Arizona this weekend because, I don't know, you had the, let's say, hangover of England. Right? And you come back and then it's trying to get to normalcy a little bit. I mentioned in the front page that they're 6-7 in their last 13 games. So they're hitting that little, wave of, what happens in a Major League Baseball 162-game season. But I deemed this weekend a little important. We've had different people tell us a lot of times that the Phillies have a chip on their shoulder because of what Arizona did to them last year. What were your thoughts on the weekend?
I wanted the score to keep running up. Just run it up. Just run it up on the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I think bring in another position player.
Hey, what do you got? Let's go. Let's go with this guy. No, I thought it was really good. And the Diamondbacks haven't been as good as they were last year, but they're still a decent team. And I thought it was important. I think it was important for the psyche of the Phillies to go ahead and beat that team. I think it was important for them to win the series, period, no matter who they were playing, because of being back home, because of everything else. I mean, the weather was ridiculously hot out there. Anybody that stepped outside, especially on Sunday, I thought it was particularly oppressive. It was like breathing in an oven. So I thought it was just an important series overall. And then you add into the fact that it was the Diamondbacks. I think that was just the icing on the cake. But I think this team is focused, and you mentioned it. They've talked about that they had unfinished business, that they realized when they lost the Astros in the World Series, it was like, oh, yeah, well, we were the wild card and we kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and that was a lot of, like, we surprised everybody. I think they realized that they were the better team last year, and that would stick with them. And I think you saw that in spring training. You saw that certainly as this year has progressed of the focus. And I know Rob Thompson has talked about that focus that they have. Kyle Schwarber's talked about that focus that they have. And I think it stems from how last season ended. And I think you saw that this weekend. Like, let's just bury this team.
You know, and they honor Cole Hamels on Friday night. And I said before, I like when guys get honored. That's great.
Right.
I don't have any numbers to back this up.
As far as like how the team plays,
it just seems to me like more times than not when that is done,
isn't it? I feel like it happens in basketball too, and they'll have the big ceremony beforehand,
and then the team loses,
and I'm like, oh, they're going to lose this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, oh.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks take that first one on Friday night, and you're thinking, no, I don't want this kind of a weekend. And then Saturday, of course, the Phillies just go out and rake, and Castellanos gets you 5 RBI, and then yesterday the pitchers duel, which is okay. I more expect that in a tremendous heat and humidity of what yesterday was. It's got to be hard for those players running in and out, and you know, like between innings they get to go back and they'll go in the air conditioning and all that.
It's so hot out. How many pitch clock violations are they going to like? Don't you want to throw faster? Don't you?
Would
let's
think,
go.
Yeah.
Like let's go. Let's get the show on the road.
First walk off. What they call it, a clock off. Did you see this? Colorado?
I did see that.
Somebody was explaining, I guess it was when I was in the car, that in case you didn't hear, Colorado, extra innings, I forget who they were playing, but extra innings, tie game, bases loaded, 3-2 count, and the pitcher gets called for a clock violation.
That's unbelievable.
Walk, clock off game is what they're calling it. First one in Major League Baseball regular season history, because one did happen in spring training.
I remember that the first year of the pitch clock. The Braves actually got it. It was
So Silvana is on our YouTube page today and has corrected me, saying that I said Arizona Cardinals. So we already have a blooper for Friday. Tom, I hope you caught that.
I heard it. I didn't want to interrupt you. My bad.
Attaboy. We know it's Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, Silvana is very on the fence here of whether she is a friend of the show or not a friend of the show.
I thought she was not a friend of the show.
You go after one. You go after one of us. You go after all of us. And there's something going on between she and Ray Dunn, and it is ugly. Like to the point,
it's not friendly.
Amy, you should have seen it. You weren't here on Friday, but to the point where I went into the producer studio when we were done on Friday at 2:00 to get ready because we have to go do some things after a show. And he was just full scale walking out, no words, walking out of studio. And I'm like, Ray, say goodbye to Silvana. You're going on vacation. You're not going to see her for a while. He looked over at her, looked away, and started walking out again. I had to grab him. I'm like,
wrong.
No. We're not doing this. Say goodbye to Silvana. And he see you, and walked out. That was it. So it's bad on here, and it's only going to get worse, Silvana, if you're going to sit there and, start poking holes at this show.
Don't do that.
We won't have it.
Okay, this is Middays with Bob Cooney.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So, Aim, you look at what happened this weekend. Harper's getting to be, it's weird. For anybody else, it's red hot. To me, for Bryce Harper, he's hot. It's just like
the expectation. Okay. This is what we expect.
Yeah, I do. Because I have felt over once he hit, we had this big thing on the morning show last year when he came back. And remember, there was a power struggle with him. Like, he didn't have his power back.
No.
And then Kincade put out there one day, it looked like Harper might be getting it back a little bit. So Kincade put a number over-under of home runs for the rest of the year for him. And we really kept an eye on it. And it was like, whoa, that power surge is back. Ever since then, I don't look at Bryce Harper ever with the valleys. I'm always peaking with him.
Yeah, I feel like if there was no valley. It's like a plateau.
Right.
Maybe a slight dip, like a step down. And then when he is on, it's out of control. And you see it. And the pitchers know it as well. They know when he's on one, and you'll see them. They just don't pitch to him. He doesn't get anything to even hit. And then I feel like sometimes there was the series before this one, and I was like, I feel like he's not getting a lot of pitches, and he's trying to make something happen. And I get that. Like, he feels that, especially with some of the guys. Trey Turner had just come back. JT Realmuto had gone down. Stott was struggling. Castellanos. I feel like he was like, all right, maybe I need to make something happen. Occasionally he'll get one, kind of push it out there and kind of go down and get one. But when he's patient at the plate, which he normally is, then he can really rake, as long as they give him something to hit.
Yeah, exactly. I brought this up on Friday, I believe it was. This is why we have to have you regular. But because I can't remember who I talked to, and I hate to say that, but I said this on Friday where I want things to be the way they used to be. Like I forget what movie. Why can't things just be the way they were? And I put it out there, and I asked Bill, you know what I'm talking about? And I asked Ray also, and neither one of them got what I was thinking. My thinking was not that things are bad. Now I'll take 6 and 7 over 13 during a season like this, and that's going to happen. I miss the days of having your regular lineup, and you won't get it until JT Realmuto comes back. But go ahead and put out that stellar outfield for me. Go ahead and put Rojas out there. I will have a talk with him and say, like, look, there's no nonchalant play. You're out in the field.
This is why you're here.
Yeah, don't make any fly ball look routine. You, 2 hands, I want it all. Throw to the right base. Always have in your head. No lollipop throws. All of that. I don't mind a lineup where Marsh is 8th and Rojas is 9th. And everybody else is going the way they're going. Now, during 162, you're not going to have that straight on through. So maybe this is the little break they needed. But I kind of pine for, okay, when Real Muto gets back and everything.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you know exactly who it is.
Exactly. And your last 3 hitters are your outfield.
I will say I did enjoy the return of Kyle Schwarber out in left field. Especially in a game where they won, by 11 runs.
I laughed when I saw it.
As soon as I saw it, I was a giant smile on my face. I'm like, get out there, guy. And then, of course, he was the post-game interview, and they talked about there was no way he was not making that last out.
Right.
He came out of not out of nowhere, but he certainly ran quickly in for a ball that probably should have been maybe the center fielder's. And he was like, no.
Yeah, I got that.
Give me a little action, okay? Yeah. Give me a little action.
He called off Trey Turner on that last one.
That's what it was. I couldn't remember who he called off, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, he wanted to catch that so bad.
His first game in the outfield calls off Trey Turner, the last out.
Let's go, buddy.
So if there's been one little inkling of a partial question, that's how little it is. It's an inkling of a partial question. Mine has been towards Rob Thompson of, okay, do we have to toy with the lineup every day?
Well, you got Sosa in it. That's how you got Sosa in.
Right. You got and Bohm DH'd. And yeah. I understand. And you're going to have to do that throughout the season. But my thought was, really? The guy's having his June, which is awesome at the plate. Are we really going to mess with him out in the field now?
95 degrees outside or whatever.
But that was as quick as I thought about it, and then it left my mind, and and all that. Okay. But yeah, that's. But
I'm with you. I feel like when everything comes back together, which should be post All-Star break, you'll have the look of what this team should look like. 90% of the lineups until the end of the year, until September 29th or whatever the last day of the season is. So I think here and there you'll get guys some rest. JT Realmuto, obviously, I think they'll take it easy with him when he comes back, even though I think the report the other day was that he expects to be back 100%. He's had something like this before, and he felt really good. But he's normally, even when he's been 100% healthy, he rests some of the day games after a night game type of thing. So you'll still see that. We'll have to see what they do. I think they will send Marchand back down, even though I think he's done a very good job.
Yeah, he has.
He's shown that he is the backup catcher for them for the future, I think. Yeah. Certainly next year. But you can't, Chief Vibes Officer is here. And Chief Vibes Officer is not terrible.
And he's had a hit in 5 of his last 6 starts or something like that. Yeah. So, I just, there's normal substitution days in baseball.
Right.
Day game after the night. Catcher always gets a day off during the week. Whatever. Lefty, righties, a little bit. Rob Thompson likes to do it a little more, and he can, because we're talking about an Edmundo Sosa who has played really well this year.
Yes.
A Whit Merrifield.
You did it.
I did it. I practiced this weekend because apparently I did it 4 times last year. A Whit Merrifield who you're trying to get back to that all-star form that was at the beginning of last year. He fell off at the end, but does have that form. And so on and forth. If you're going to call Dahl, all right, we have him on the team. You didn't want to lose him. You didn't put him back down. So you want to give those guys a look. Understandable. I like the Bryson Stott stuff. I just want him in there. I want him to figure out 238. I want him to figure it out, which I think he can.
It out. Let Stott figure it out.
Yeah. So like I said, it's an inkling of maybe a sort of question of Rob Thompson that I have, but that's it. I have absolutely no problem with what he's done this year at all.
I think more regular Brandon Marsh would be my only quip, my only little ad. A little bit more regular.
I agree with you.
But that's a very, very small, very, very small. Right?
Because it's weird. And somebody on our YouTube page was like, Bob, Rojas can't knock in a run with the bases loaded. If you're looking for Johan Rojas for his offense with this lineup, I mean, let's go. Yeah, once in a while, as I said before, when he gets on base, I want to see him steal bases. They want him to try to learn how to bunt. I think he's bunting at least once every game down in AAA. If you put Brandon Marsh in there every day and he's my 8-hole hitter, and whatever happens with Rojas at 9 playing really good center field, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, too, especially if Castellanos continues to kind of return to what you expect, like you've seen the last, 4 series now, probably going on almost 5. He had a little bit of a dip, but really he had a decent London series. He came back. He was okay in Boston. I know they all kind of struggled down there in Baltimore for a couple of those games, but really he's done much better, which is why his average is up by 20 points. 20 points?
Yeah, it went from 204 to 226.
Yeah, there you go. So I feel like you can have a guy, like if you're really worrying about Johan Rojas, that's a good thing, because that's like, okay, well, we're worrying about a guy that's the number 9 hitter, and we're not worried about him defensively at all.
Right. And I think the only way, I'm still on this, and Tom, I don't know if you agree or not. I'm Christian Pache, thank you, love you, bye.
Yeah.
And I thought that, okay, if you want to throw Rojas down to AAA to get him to learn how to bunt better, cut down on the swing, make sure his attitude is still or gets even better. Only way that he doesn't come back is if Pache kind of went crazy in my book. Like, oh, okay, he's as good a fielder and he hits much better. I haven't seen that, and I didn't expect to see that.
No, and I don't think you're going to. I think we know what Christian Pache is. I think after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline here, it kind of doesn't make sense to have Pache and Rojas on your roster going into the play. They're the same player, basically.
Same dude. Yep.
And Rojas is younger with a bit more potential, obviously. So, yeah, for the time being, ebbs and flows, 162-game season. I'm fine with Pache now. Second half, as we look towards the postseason, hopefully he's not on the roster. And Rojas is up here. Maybe they make a trade at the deadline. We will see.
Yeah. I really want to see the old times.
I feel like an outfielder is in the cards for them at the trade deadline. I think that's probably going to happen.
So do I. When we had people, I think it was on Friday, saying, just get Mike Trout here once and for all. Will you please? Honestly, get Trout here.
I think that every offseason, obviously his contract is bananas and everything else, but every offseason and every football, basically meaning every football season, every time I see him, I'm like, just stop beating around the bush. Just go ahead and come back. You know you want to. Just do it now.
Build a beautiful mansion over there in Millville.
You already have the golf course.
You do. You and Tiger.
Let's
yeah.
Let's just come on home.
Yeah, Jersey,
ridiculous.
Philly.
Stop
we need
being
you
ridiculous.
back. Like, it's just,
Just take less money. Come on. You already have a ton.
You belong together. I mean, we were talking about, but seriously, Aiden Miller's a guy that, I'm going to think twice. Anybody else they want, you can have it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, when we get back. I mentioned earlier that Christopher Sanchez did sign that contract extension with the Phillies. There's some other guys on the roster that maybe you want to extend a little bit on a roster that's filled with guys making a lot of money. We'll take a look at maybe who you do or do not want to offer an extension to. Amy Fiddle's with us all day long. I'm Bob Cooney, middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back on this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week ahead of you. As this one gets rolling with the Phillies in Detroit tonight to play the Tigers for 3. And then they come home. I think, what are they? Miami at home?
Yep,
is that
this
what it
weekend,
is?
yep.
All right, in the weekend, there has to be something in between. What are they? Oh, Thursday, Friday. That's a 4-game series, right?
Yeah, they don't have a day off all week this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Spencer Turnbull goes on Wednesday as Taijuan Walker is out with a hot spot on his pitching finger, which doesn't – I think the way Stocker was explaining it yesterday also, in his throwing during the week, he wasn't even able to throw his splitter because he wasn't able – it was hurting too bad. So he kind of just went into the game like, well, if I have it, I have it. I don't, I don't. And then as we saw on Friday night, he really didn't have it all that much. No. So we're talking about Christopher Sanchez. He gets a nice contract extension on Saturday. The news comes out, 4 years, $22.5 million. It just has to make you wonder of, well, who else out there? Because to me, and you two could be different, to me, when I think about the Phillies and the word contract, I think of you get 10 years and you get 11 years and you get $100 million and you get $100 million. It's never been anything that we really, I would say, worried about, right, Amy?
Right.
Not when it comes to the Phillies. So let's just go over some of the guys on the roster, what their contract is, and maybe what some contracts aren't, and would you do something different? All right, so we know in Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, they're signed until the year like $3 million or something, right? So Harper till 2031, Turner to 2033. Aaron Nola, of course, just had the extension done during this past offseason, so he signed to 2030. Zach Wheeler did what he wanted to do. This is it. This is all I want to pitch. Thank you for offering more, but I'll just stay here until 2027, and I'm happy, so he's there. In JT Realmuto, now here's one. He goes until 2025 on his 5-year deal. The value is $115.5 million. It is the AAV at $23.1 million. In 2025, that season is over. After next season, would you look to extend JT now for a few years? I don't have their ages up, but he's somewhere like 32-ish.
Yeah, early 30s, 33
early 30s.
maybe.
Okay. Probably still best catcher in baseball, maybe with a little hometown sprinkle of homerness, but he's up there. He's up there as one of the best catchers in baseball.
Yeah, you worry a little bit how he's going to age, of course, being 33. So you worry about spending, $20 million on a 35-year-old catcher. But, I think it's something that they have to potentially consider here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it depends on the length, obviously, what you're looking for. The extension, if you're talking about, like Thomas saying, maybe like a 2-year extension.
Yeah.
That's something I could get behind. I think he is an important player in that clubhouse for a lot of things, especially if you're good with Rafael Marchand being your backup. I feel like that could be a good situation right there. Bring him up. He is the backup, the heir apparent.
Right.
And then he's already locked up. And then you have JT to kind of guide him through. JT 35, and I think that would be, 35 for a catcher is about right.
Yeah, and honest question to you two. Have you seen anything in his play that tells you there's decline because of it?
Yeah, there's no breakdown.
It doesn't seem like it right now. We can go to injury and say, well, he's getting another meniscus repaired when he had that done in 2019 also. Okay, after 2019, he didn't look any different to me either.
No.
So I agree with that. I think I would give him a, hey, man, we love what you've done for us and maybe what you can continue to do for us. I might even look at upgrading from the backup catcher in that time period.
Right.
But that's another luxury to talk about at a different time. Nick Castellanos, I do have their ages here. I'm sorry, 29 years old. He signed through 2026. Of course, he was given the $100 million contract, $20 million a year. Is he the kind of guy that, I'll just let it ride out? Like, what's your guys' feeling on Nick Castellanos?
I'll just let it ride out.
Yeah, I'm good. We'll reconsider later.
Okay. And we're not saying that in a bad way.
Is he deserving of a contract extension right now? No.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah, I think it's last year he was really good. We can't forget that. 29 home runs, 36 doubles, 106 RBI. Exactly what I called for or wanted, even more home runs, before the year started last year. If he finishes out this year hot, yeah, All right, let's see it again next year, and then you can approach it because you have that luxury of 2026. Kyle Schwarber, 29 years old. He goes till 2025 at a AAV of 19.75. He's through after next year. That's all right. I'm looking at Amy. For those of you not on YouTube, she has her head tilted with a smile on it. It's like one of those, I really like you, but I'm not sure.
It's hard to say no, right? I mean, that guy, talk about, I know I joke about the chief vibes officer, which is what the Phillies call Garrett Stubbs, but truly, there's the leader in the clubhouse. It's Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
He's a guy that people bring in to kind of cap off championship type of teams. He's a missing piece for a lot of teams. And it would be strange to see him not playing for the Phillies, like to play it out.
And it's weird because he is kind of a vagabond. He's been, I think this is at least his third, if not fourth team in the majors.
You know, we play Immaculate Grid every morning.
Yeah.
He is a great answer because you're looking at the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Nationals, the Phillies. I mean, it's pretty remarkable and has been successful at all of those places.
And he's only 29.
I think that surprises a lot of people.
It does. And don't forget, he's DHing. There ain't a lot of wear and tear on those tires.
I bring him back.
Yeah, Amy's good. She's going to extend him after this season. He's up in 2025. What say you, Tom, on Kyle Schwarber?
I think you have to. I think he is the heartbeat of this clubhouse. He's a guy who can hit you 40 homers a year. OBP is always high. The batting average, now that he's slimmed down, is up there as well.
Yeah, it's on base
He's got
percentage.
speed now, too. And we saw how good he can field on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. That too. It doesn't have to happen in season this year like it did with Sanchez, but I don't think they let him hit free agency after next year. I think he's a guy that needs to be with this team going forward.
Okay, and probably same number-ish, $20 million a year. I think that's good for him. I don't know that you have to up. Even a lot of these guys that we will bring up, I don't know if you have to up them all that much. But, you know, we
just
can
add a couple years.
Yeah, add a couple years. Let's see. All right, let's go down to, this one here, Alec Boehm.
Yes.
He's 27 years old. I think that surprises people. I still think they think 27. I thought he was like 24.
Yeah, I think
the daycare, 27 in the daycare.
Yeah, daycare's getting a little older, but he's up after this year, and he's making $4 million a year.
Yes.
Yeah, what?
Yes, extension.
Like, you got numbers in mind? I didn't mean to be rude. I wasn't saying what. Do you have numbers?
What? Go. I mean, I think that he's that would be to me like a 5-year deal.
Okay.
4 to 5 years.
500.
Wow.
Does he get that big of a boost?
I don't know if he gets that big of a boost.
He's top 2 in RBIs this year, right?
He's going to ask for numbers. Where would you put him, Tom, a year?
20?
I was going to say 12, 15, 15, 18, 18, 20.
He'll get 18
I don't
to
say
20.
what you would give. What do you think he'll
20 seems high just because as great as the RBI numbers are and runners in scoring position, the power's not really there.
That's true.
And he's not a great field. He's improved very much so at third base, but he's still not a great third baseman. So 20 seems high. 15, $18 million. Does he accept that, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. Someone might give him 20.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Does he seem like that to you?
There's
Castellanos.
Like a guy to leave a good situation just to make money. He does not seem like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He does not.
No, he does not.
But you're not going to. He's not going to go for the hometown discount, which is a silly phrase, I think, anyway. But I don't know. That one is pretty interesting. We'll go through the rest of the team, especially important guys on this, to find out what you would do. What do you think the Phillies should? What would you do as far as it comes to contracts? We're going to keep that out there for you for the rest of the show. When we get back, we'll go through some more players on this because I think it's an interesting subject, especially when you have a team going as well as the Phillies. Amy Fadul with us all day. We got Tom Alvord producing. I'm Bob Cooney. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back, Middays. Amy Fadul joining us today, which we always love and adore. We're talking Phillies. We're talking contracts. We're talking best team in baseball. So I'm not a guy that likes to look too far into the future, as Amy well knows. She knows that Wednesday, to me, on a Monday, is a complete blur. I'll be lucky if I get through today well enough. And it drives my wife crazy, and I feel so sorry for her. But I'm just a day-to-day guy. And I am starting to feel worse about it as I get older that, like I brought up something for next weekend. And I'm like, oh, somebody wanted to do such and such. And she gives me a look of disgust, which she should. And it's like, we're going down the shore next weekend. Remember? And I can't get her to remember that I don't remember.
Yeah, you're like, listen, I've told you this before. Don't tell me anything more than a day in advance.
I always went by the mantra that I was day to day. I swear, I think now I'm becoming hour to hour. Like, I am just that bad. So I'm not looking into the future of just putting this season behind or whatever. I love what this Phillies team is doing. Everybody does. Best record in baseball right now. It's all good. All is good here in whatever ville you want to be in. But I'm looking at the contracts of players and this special team and how it may move forward. And we're going to go through a couple more players. But, Tom, you have some a poll that you
Twitter
put up.
Poll, yes. Still very early results. Could we check back in just a minute or two? Is that all right?
Yeah, we can check back.
Okay,
I
just
what
put it
is-
up 2
what is the
seconds ago.
poll?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. That works. All right, so Christopher Sanchez signed an extension with the Phillies over the weekend. Who should now be the Phillies' number one priority when it comes to signing an extension? You get 4 options. Don't yell at me. I only get 4 because of the Twitter poll. That's how Twitter works.
Yep.
Alec Boehm, Ranger Suarez, Bryson Stott, or Brandon Marsh.
4 good ones, real good ones. All guys that are up this year. I just want to remind you, 10 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. All right, a couple of those names that you mentioned, Tom, that's who I want to go over right now. And let's go to that Ranger Suarez. Making a little over $5 million this year. He's up after this year. If you're to say, hey, Ranger, come on in, let's talk contract. That sounds pretty cool. I would love to have somebody say that to me. Hey, come on in, let's talk contract.
Let's talk contract.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. So I'm looking at here, Ranger Suarez, $5 million a year, up after this year. What would you do? Hey,
Yes.
Ranger.
Hey, Ranger, how's it going? Do you like Philadelphia? Let's talk how much you like Philadelphia.
All right, but you have to start it.
Oh, I have to start it?
Amy, you have to start with the numbers.
I'm Dave Dombrowski.
Yes, you are.
Wow. He's
Can I
going to
borrow
command
some money, Dave?
Yeah,
Do you mind?
he's going to command quite a bit. I mean, talk about a year to have a contract year.
Yeah.
His season.
No wonder he's smiling all the time.
The guy is a cool customer regardless. Gosh, I mean, you were talking about those 10-year deals. I don't think it's anything like that, but I do think it's at least a 5-year deal, and I would think he's going to command that's over 100.
Okay, so just for comparison's sake, Aaron Nola's AAV is $24.5 million. Zach Wheeler's is $42 million. So you're saying like 500?
Yeah, I'm saying 500.
Tom, you're Ranger Suarez. Your proposal from Mr. Dombrowski right here, in the form of Amy Fadul, is 5 for 100. Fair enough or no?
I think it is fair. It's crazy to say because this is really this is the one great year we've seen from Suarez. We've seen some great moments, and he's been fantastic in the playoffs. But this is the first time he's put an entire season together. And we still have the second half of the year, of course. But, man, if this is what we're going to get from Ranger, who's still, 26, 27 at this point, if this is what we're going to get going forward from Ranger, $100 million isn't out of the question. I think she's spot on.
Ranger is at 28 years old right now. No, that's all right. I swear, I get ages messed up all the time, and to me, they all seem the same until they get old. But, okay, let's go over to second base. And there's this guy there named Bryson Stott. And he's somebody that many thought at some point in his career is going to challenge for a batting title. Defensively, he's Gold Glove worthy. There's no question about that. His deal is done after this year. Bryson Stott is 26 years old. He is making a whopping $768,000 a year. Bryson Stott has been down this year. I do think he's an everyday second baseman, and I
think he's also a shortstop.
Right. Could be that guy that switches spots in the infield with that Trey Turner dude at some point. So this time, Tom, you are Dave Dombrowski. Amy, you are Bryson Stott. Amy walks into you, and you offer what, Tom Alvord? Or you don't make an offer.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, he's not a free agent till what, 2028, I believe.
I think it's over. Oh, really? What I have here is 2024.
Well, arbitration, obviously.
Yeah,
so,
but let's say, All right, what our premise here is that we're just offering after this season.
Gotcha. So I would say, look, Stott, we love what we have with you here. Fantastic defensive player. We know what you can do with the bat. How's 5 years, $50 million sound?
What say you, Bryson Stott, holding your little baby girl in your hand as you're negotiating with
You don't have to worry about arbitration. You got $10 million over the next 5 years every year.
So I would wonder, like, in arbitration, I think that number is going to be probably about the same, if not a little bit less. And so I think he has to consider that because otherwise you're arbitrating, repeatedly. I don't know. You'd have to talk to some of the players if they're, as a player, I think I would want to avoid some of that unless I really feel like I'm just getting lowballed on whatever the contract deal is. I think that's a pretty fair deal. I think the years for him, I would wonder if he would want something a little bit less to kind of renegotiate later in case he does become the everyday shortstop.
330?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
that's a good business. That's a good comeback.
Yeah, as a Philly, if I'm the Phillies, I want to give him longer years. But as a player, I would think for him being only, what'd you say,
26.
There you go. I would think he's going to think, all right, well, maybe I can get 3 years in, and then I'll talk about it then.
It's going to be pretty cool. We just saw the interview that was done on NBC Sports Philadelphia. It was on, a month ago with Taryn Hatcher and with Stott and his wife and his little daughter. It must be pretty cool to be 26 years old and you're making $768,000, which, to most 26-year-olds, that's not bad at all.
Most 46-year-olds, 56-year-olds, that's pretty good.
What if his wife's in the car with the little girl right now? Maybe they're, just driving around somewhere and they hear us talking on the radio saying, my husband's going to be arguing about $10 million a year come this off season, possibly. That's pretty cool. We can put numbers to numbers, but when you humanize it like that, that's a pretty cool place to be. All right, let's do a couple more here real quick before we hit the break. Brandon Marsh is the next one I'm going to put out to you. 25 years old.
No one thinks he's 25.
I know, right? 25 years old. He is making $2,000 a year. No, $1,500 a year less than Bryson Stott. He's making $766,500 a year. You are now, who were you last time? Were you you were the player?
I was the player.
All right, Mr. Dombrowski,
so I'm the GM.
offer Mr. Marsh a contract.
He makes like 700, whatever.
766,500.
Marsh is an interesting one because he's not an everyday player, but he should be an everyday player.
Yes.
So I would wonder that conversation that as Dave Dombrowski I need to have with my manager. Like, what do you see this guy as? Do you see him as platooning out there in the outfield? Then that needs to be involved in my contract negotiations. Right. Or is he going to be the everyday guy and we're going to be good with it? So let's pretend he's the everyday guy because I think that's what he should be. I would offer him probably a 3-year deal worth about 15.
If I'm Marsh, I'm taking whatever you're giving me because I don't know if I'm an everyday player.
Yeah.
Truly. I'll take this. I don't know what this team thinks of me truly, so whatever money you want to give me, sure. I'll take it.
That's a big question mark because of how they use him.
It is, and it's cool because I think the way they can both agree is we don't know how we're going to use you. What you just said about Stott, this guy's only 25 years old. He doesn't want maybe that long term. So maybe they agree on that 3. I went a little higher. I went like 3
18?
At 7, 8, between 7 and 8 million a year.
Yeah, I could
but
see
any
that.
of them aren't, it's not bank breaking.
Yeah, I could see 20 million for him.
Yeah.
Over a 3-year contract, 21.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. So we're talking contracts. We hear this weekend. Oh, and Tom, great job by you. In retirement games, Phillies are 1-3 when they retired Utley, Howard, Rollins, and Hamels. Right?
Yes, that is correct. Not great. Not a great
I feel
record.
I feel like the Howard and Rollins games, those were great Phillies teams.
The only one they won is from Matt Watson on Twitter. Was Ryan Howard, a 4-3 win over the Nationals.
What year was that?
It doesn't give me the year,
I
unfortunately.
got to look up some of those.
But the L in the Rollins game, L in the Utley game, and, of course, an L over the weekend in the Hamels game.
Yeah.
Come on now. What are we doing?
Let's retire on off days. I think we've all learned
smart.
that. All right, we're talking about contracts. Let's switch sports because it looks like someone got out of a contract, and it's going to affect Philadelphia tremendously. We'll take a look at that when we get back. Amy Fadul, Bob Cooney, Tom Alvord. We're all here for you today. Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Little after 11 here on Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. So glad you're joining us today. Hello to all our YouTube friends, family, gatherers, co-workers, as we found out earlier. As you know, that young lady from the Best Show Ever decided to, post her feelings on here.
She does do that. She likes
does.
to be in the comments of the YouTube.
She does. And she, she's been in our comments lately, and not in a good way, but we will take care of that off air. Bewildered. I think that's who it was. Thank you for the advice. Write stuff down in a calendar, Bob. Because I was talking last segment about how I was a day-to-day guy.
We've tried that. We've tried it.
And you know what? You're right. And you all are right. And I do have a day planner that I used to, especially when I was covering the Sixers, because you have to have all your flights, everything down in there. But I figured out why. Because that I don't do it. And I've become even more day-to-day, which I've knocked down to hour. I think I like to be surprised at what's coming up.
Oh.
Like, it was cool when I said to my wife the other day, such and such thought they might want to get together. And she's like, no, we're going down the shore this weekend. Oh, yeah, that's right. Cool. Like, I think I do like to be surprised a little bit because...
You like it. I don't think anyone else around you likes it.
Hey,
But
remember we're doing this? Nope.
Yeah, it's I don't plan things without asking my wife because I know what I am. So I don't say, hey, look, I invited or I told. I don't. I will say I was thinking of, and then she'll straighten me out. I should. But because when I was covering the Sixers, you're so regimented. Like I land at this time, practices at that time, hotel, shoot-arounds, games, all of that. You're so regimented. I think that I've pushed away and stayed away and I'm good going the way I'm going. I don't even know what I'm talking about in this segment, Aim. That's how off the cuff we are.
We're talking contracts.
But we are. And this weekend we found out that Matvei Michkov got out of his contract over in Russia, and it looks like he's going to be coming to Philadelphia. When? How about for this next season?
That's incredible.
It really is. And it's, when he was drafted and all the talk of it was a gutsy pick. By Keith Jones and Danny Briere because there was a very good...
3 years left on that.
Exactly. Very good chance he wouldn't be here for a while. And, if you remember, and I do because I was on the front lines, it reminded me of the 76ers. And,
Saric.
You had Saric. You took Embiid, who missed 2 years. Yeah. You didn't mean for it to happen, but Ben Simmons comes and breaks his foot and misses a year. So it was like that old, here we go again. You're supposed to get a star, and he's not going to be here for 3 years. Well, it looks like he's going to be coming over for this season. As of right now, a lot of national reporters, Frank Saravalli, an old friend of mine who I used to work with at the Daily News and now covers the NHL, I believe I don't know if he's TSN or not. I don't know what he is, but one of the most respected national writers around has reported that he will probably be coming over for this season. And I'll ask him, look, I'm not going to pretend we've all seen highlights. We've seen stuff from the KHL from this year, him playing and how good he is and organizational changing he may become. What do you think the excitement level, first of all, your excitement level on it, and then what do you think the city's excitement level is going to be once they see this kid?
I think once they see this kid, the excitement level should be pretty high given what we've seen on the ice. Like, again, we're watching YouTube clips. No one's watching KHL. I don't even know if you can watch KHL over there all the time, but what we've seen from him, tremendous. Just a franchise-changing forward, I think, is how he should be viewed. And that is something this franchise desperately needs. They need a franchise-changing type of player. I think also a better taste in their mouths after the whole Cutter Gauthier stuff went down. That was just... And you knew kind of how that was going to go down, maybe not as bitter as it turned out, but you knew it wasn't going to go well given how it was. And then I think the tweets that were sent out afterwards when he did come up this year. It's all right, we get it. He didn't want to come here, whatever, fine. But I think now getting Matvei Michkov, I think, is going to be so much more of a boost. And I think even, the Flyers fans as a whole are probably the most fervent, dedicated. They don't miss.
Right.
We always joke, there's 40,000 of them, and they go to every other game. Because there's a lot more than that. It's just because every time they're in the building, that entire arena is locked in. Those fans are not a lot of casuals, but there are casual NHL fans. They're casual Flyers fans. I like the Flyers, and they'll watch it occasionally, and then they don't watch it, and whatever else. I think he is such a draw. If he turns out to be everything that he is shown to be, and meaning that he looks like the highlights that we've seen, I think he's a guy that's really going to move the needle a lot for this team.
So do I. I do. You hate to put this name with it, but as I was thinking it over the weekend when the news came out, could it be Crosby-like? Now, look, I am not throwing a 19-year-old into the Hall of Fame and into the realms of what Sidney Crosby is. But as far as affecting an organization, in your mind, it's not out of line,
I think
right?
there's no question he is a franchise-changing type of player. And I think when you get players like that, it not only elevates your franchise, obviously on the ice, but it elevates it in everyone else's mind. So when you're trying to, really build your team and draw in free agents, they like to play with good players. That's true for all sports, right? So good begets good. And so when you have a guy like that is supremely talented, and then especially at that position, right, as a forward, I think that really draws a lot of interest. Then if they can turn that into something, then you really are building quite a little, momentum going your way, I think.
And it's, you have this exciting, air quote, beginning of this Flyers organization from a couple years ago when they named Danny Briere as general manager, who only, I think, for a couple of years was like kind of
still around the organization,
an assistant around the assistant GM, learning
personnel type of vibes.
Like when we interviewed him, Danny Briere said, I was learning what to do, like all of these things as far as negotiations and what you can and cannot do. So he gets elevated, and we can say it quickly, to that spot. You do the fun move, the one that nobody's really going to hate in hiring Keith Jones as president, because why? Amy has a huge smile on her face. We've been around, Amy and I.
Great human.
Yeah, we've been around Keith Jones for the majority of his career in one way or another. I covered the team a little bit when he was on the team, and then, of course, being around in
the broadcaster,
Yeah, in the news and him being on the radio for so long, all of that. It's a move that put a smile on everybody's face. So it's like, okay, maybe they're going in the right direction with that little black cloud over the head of, and I brought this up to Keith Jones, I have no problem saying it, of, really? You're bringing 2 more former players back to run the organization. Haven't you done this a gazillion times already? But there was more good to it in the eyes of, well, you don't know, and these are 2 really good guys. This lends to that being a good move, I think. Now, they took him 7th overall.
Yes.
In that draft, it was thought of that had he not had that KHL contract,
he would have gone.
One, it looks like,
one
right?
Or two.
One or two.
Well, Bedard was in that draft.
Yeah,
he was like
so I think Bedard was probably going to be the guy. But everybody thought like this would be the second choice.
Definitely. Unanimous number 2.
Yeah. Because of the contract. It's a big unknown. You're drafting a guy that you don't know if you're going to see him for 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're drafting in that position, you need a guy that you're going to be able to see on the ice before 3 years are up. There's a reason you're drafting, 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
So I think that was it. But I thought the Flyers took a big chance on him, and I think they're going to be rewarded.
And the cynical people, and look, you have to think everything out when you're in our position and yours, Amy, over at NBC Sports Philadelphia, and now here, is the cynical is, oh, well, sure, you draft a guy that's not going to be here for 3 years. How can anybody judge you at your job when your drafts aren't coming here for 3 years? Well, it turns out he's coming now. I want to read to you from Elite Prospects 2023 NHL Draft Guide. This is the outlook on Matvei Michkov, who looks like will be playing for the Flyers this year. The rare triple threat winger, Michkov is a consistent threat to find the back of the net. His puck skills are near the top of the draft, owing to immense creativity, hip pocket handling, dexterous hands, and never say die attitude. You may think that you have him, but most of the time, you really don't. His ability to problem solve his way out of defensive pressure is at a level all its own. Michkov creates plays on the ice that we can't even fathom with the benefit of a bird's eye view. That's
great.
Pretty good, because usually you're waiting for the however or the but.
Yeah.
There's no buts here. That's it. Like, this guy sounds like the real thing. 5'10", 172 pounds, so a little bit on the smaller side.
He's what, 19?
He's 19. Yeah, those kind of kids, and I've seen it with my own eyes, having had 4 19-year-olds at one point, they grow.
Yeah, and also we'll get him over. He'll get over here under the Flyers organization. The workouts, everything will be a little bit different.
Yeah, this is cool. Some of the other things that were said, EPRinkside.com. Michkov brings every offensive tool you could want to the table. A wicked wrister, elusiveness, and vision. I mean, that's cool.
What else could you want?
Another one says he becomes quicker around the net. He can make quick turns down low to then drive the net and display his quick hands in tight traffic.
A lot of quickness. Like every single thing had something about quickness.
I don't know. I might have heard it on our station. That somebody compared it to Lindros Like. And that was crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I've told this story. I was at the Daily News at the time when the Lindros stuff was about to go down. It was an afternoon. There was supposed to be a decision rendered at 1 p.m. Now, on our old computers, when I was working at the newspaper, you could go on different, it wasn't websites back then, but it was storylines like AP or stuff like, and stories would just pop. National stories all over would pop, and you'd look, and there you could, go to local stories also. But the important ones, you could also go just to sports, and the important ones would be bold. And so I never forget sitting up in the sports section and just hitting reset
Waiting
at
for
1
the
o'clock.
Lindros.
And then it was Lindros, and then go on it, and the Flyers were awarded it, and it was like, this is nuts. Maybe it's because of my age or the fact I don't know as much about Michkov. Is it fair to compare that, maybe?
I mean, obviously the excitement level, I think, is probably going to be close to that. Size-wise and everything else, there's nothing similar about him, but I feel like the excitement of getting a changing... A franchise type of changing player, I think, should be right up there. I mean, Lindros, I think, was just such a surefire. It was like, absolutely, this guy's going to 100%. You'd seen a lot more of him, which is interesting because technically now you would think you'd see more just with the way the YouTube and everything.
Still not when they're in Russia.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's in for the KHL, so you don't get to see a lot. But I think that if you're really... I mean, if this is something that is on your radar, if the Flyers are on your radar, you should have that level of excitement because he really is. He seems like such a real deal. And these guys that are writing these flourishing comments, they're not paid by the KHL. They're watching, him. They're looking at him and they're evaluating him. Those are real, true kind of third-party evaluations, and I think that says a lot to me. These are guys know what they're looking for, and they're seeing everything that he checks the boxes off.
So it's our first question we're going to put out there for today. 610-632-0975. We'd love to hear from you. How much excitement does this Matvei Michkov provide for you? Now, look, we know where the Flyers fall, maybe on the 4 major sports, and the other 3 are very successful. And Sixers, yes, we know they can't advance, or they haven't advanced past the second round, but they're still contender-like in the Eastern Conference. And you have an MVP, one of the best players in the league, in Joel Embiid. The Flyers were looking to, climb the ladder. We were looking for them to do that when Keith Jones, Danny Briere were hired. So what does this Matvei Michkov news do for you? Where is your excitement level? 610-632-0975. You can call us or text us. And, Tom, we have some texts already on the Phillies and Phillies and Flyers of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So no name here, unfortunately, but this person says Michkov is going to bring playoff hockey and championships, plural, back to this city. He will be loved in Philadelphia for a long time. So one, very excited about the Matvei Michkov, not return, but
coming over,
whatever.
And I watched, I said this numerous times during the year, and I don't know if you and I were ever together, Tom, when we talked about it, but John Tortorella.
Yeah.
That's a guy that really intrigues me. And I said it that way. It wasn't, I like him, I hate him. Neither one. Intrigues. I wonder. So I watched that team with a lot of, amusement this year. Okay, I see what's going on. What do they have to do now? Does things change with Danny Briere, Keith Jones, and all of those guys?
When Michkov comes over?
Yeah.
Because you don't know if he's the right coach?
Or I believe I'll take him as my coach. Are you okay with it?
You mean the whole organization, or am I okay with Tortorella?
Yeah, are you okay with Tortorella being a coach of a 19-year-old the way he does? It looks like he has a superstar in place. I guess it's a guy you build around. not
Yes.
with, in Michkov.
Yes.
Is his my way, the highway, so call it, approach. His approach is different.
Yeah.
And I find it intriguing. I agree with a lot of the stuff he does. I question a lot of the stuff he does. But I find it all intriguing. And look, I think he's a coach that's pretty good in the NHL.
He is good in the NHL. Yeah, I think for this year, you see how that goes. I don't know what Michkov's coach is like in Russia. Maybe it's a similar vibe. Maybe he responds to the kind of my way or the highway.
Good point.
But I think as a 19-year-old that's never played in the NHL, has never played in North American hockey at all, I think having a guy that is very structured, we'll give him that, could really be helpful for what Matvei Michkov is going to encounter here. He's really going to have to be learning the ropes, obviously how the NHL works. And listen, Tortorella's he's a hard coach.
Yeah.
He's hard on his players.
Yeah.
I talked to Scott Hartnell, and he was like, you have no idea what some of these practices were like.
Yep.
I can't even tell you about them because sometimes they kind of give me a little PTSD about them. But they made him a better player. I don't think his guys – I remember what he got thrown out of the game, but when he went back and they were honoring that team and all of his players are back, Tortorella's former players are laughing because he got tossed or whatever, but they all showed up, right? I don't think people look at him and think, well, this guy's a jackass and I don't like him anymore. I think you try to take the good with the bad for him,
right?
And I think that he could be really good.
Yeah, it's funny because – I got to interview John Tortorella only a couple of times. We did an opening season. I think we had him once on the air or whatever. I really would love to sit down with him once a week or once every couple of days or follow the team for 14 days, something like that.
See what he's really like?
Yeah, and because, I'm a little bit older. I've seen an awful lot. I do see the reasoning for a lot of the things he does. Maybe I don't see it the way he wants it to be seen.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not being controversial. I'm saying, maybe I'm misunderstanding and I can learn a little more being around him. But I do. I sent the Flyers a couple of texts this season, and it never worked out timing-wise. But I said, look, I'd love to have him on the show because I find him really, really intriguing. All right, Tom, we have another text on what we were talking about with the Phillies earlier.
Yeah, getting into the contracts a little bit. Dawood in the Northeast says, can we just give Ranger Taijuan Walker's contract? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah, little flip.
Let's transfer that over.
Yeah.
I'm sure Taijuan will love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going for a little bit less money now. All right, we got some good news, Tom, from the Philadelphia Phillies about posthumous Wall of Fame.
Yes, so this is actually our associate producer back there put this on there, so I'm learning this at the very same time.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The Phillies have it. Did you get it?
Yeah, Phillies to honor David Montgomery in his legacy during induction into the Phillies Wall of Fame, August 17th.
Awesome. Talk about a good person.
Yeah, unbelievable. Even in this, the business that we're in, and Amy, I've been around longer than you only because you moved up. No, because I'm older, that's why. But Dave Montgomery was one of the first people that I remember to come over to me, and it was early in my career, and say hello, call me by name, and say, oh, I enjoy, the work you do with. I was covering college basketball at the time, and he was like, and then we just started talking college hoops, and for Dave Montgomery to come over and just say, hey, Bob, how's it going, whatever, that was cool, showed what kind of a really good guy, and you hit it right on the head, Aim. Just a really good guy.
You have these great stories, and I think everybody, certainly in the media, has a story like that where he sought you out to make sure he introduced himself, said hello, enjoyed whatever it is that you did. But around the ballpark and around the front office, everybody from the guy that picked up the trash in each office to the people in the cafeterias and whatever, they all spoke so highly.
Yeah.
They always knew everybody's name and knew about their families. They come in, hey, heard so-and-so's graduating, or, your niece just, is going to preschool, whatever. They would have these very, involved stories that David Montgomery just was really personable with everybody there. And truly, they lost quite the titan of the sport. I know baseball felt it overall, but certainly that's a wonderful honor and just not surprising that the Phillies are going to do something like that.
Not at all. So they'll be doing that in August. It got a race. I think it said 17th,
Yes.
Tom, August 17th. Okay, so something to look forward to there. And Phillies, go out and win that game for crying out loud, all right? We don't want to have any of this nonsense going on like you do on the retirement nights. Okay, when we get back, I'm not just talking feelings. I'm talking strong feelings, Amy.
Strong.
What kind of strong feelings do you have towards Wednesday? And if in your head out there you're thinking, Why? What's Wednesday? Well, then you don't have strong feelings, okay? But we'll take a look at that with Amy, Tom. I'm Bob Cooney. This is Middays, 97.5, The Fanatic. Welcome back, 11:30-ish. Here, back on middays. Says, yeah, we're supposed to hit breaks on time, but Bob Cooney's not really good at that. So, comeback times sometimes vary, but that's okay. We're here for you all day long as Amy Fadul joins us today. We got Tom Alvord producing as Ray Dunn. I think, what time? 11:30? Yeah, he's still in the air, I think, going somewhere, traveling abroad. The kid
That's what he does.
It is. It's
That's what
like,
he does.
Yeah, so I sent him a text this morning. Hope you have a great vacation, you and your whole family. It's cool. He's going with his family because Ray is still of that age where he goes, with mommy and daddy on vacation and stuff like that. That's cool.
Listen,
good for him.
I still try to go on vacation with my parents.
I wish I could. I wish I could.
Because they pay for it.
Yeah, there's that. I never went on vacation with my parents.
No?
Swear to God, never ever.
Coming up, I did that a lot. Now it's like all about the grandkids for me. Like that, yeah, you can go because.
Wait, say that in a different way. That made it sound like you have grandkids.
No, for them, like they want to go.
For your parents, right? It's all about their grandkids.
Yeah,
okay.
the grandkids.
All right, I just didn't want anybody to start.
I do not.
Wait,
no. I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah, so you're good to go that way. Yeah, it's funny. I never thought of that, but no, I never ever went on a vacation with my parents. Huh? Oh well, poor Bob Cooney. Yeah, get one of those.
You don't get to live a life of luxury like Ray Dunn, unfortunately.
That's right.
So
yeah, he does have a good life. You and I are just
living.
We're able to sit back and watch. Like he's got people coming up to him. Oh, Ray, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm going to go to Sips with a couple of my friends. Oh, here's 2 passes.
Here's VIP passes.
Yeah, sure. Here you go, Ray. Or how about a cup of coffee? How about I don't know. What do you want to eat? Anything. It's on us.
Must be nice.
I know. I think I'd love to be him when I grow up, but don't know if I'm ever going to grow up. Okay, let's go through some names because there's this thing coming up Wednesday, Amy.
Yes.
And you and I had talked about it because we both may be there. You're definitely going to be there.
Yes.
I'm still tossing it up in the air. And that is the NBA draft. And we will have live coverage here on our station as D. Lynham, Tyrone Johnson. They're going to go from, I believe it's 8 to 10, Tom, I think, if I'm mistaken. 8 to 10 on Wednesday night down at is that right?
I will let you know in 2 seconds.
It's definitely at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know what time it ends. They're on at 8.
I wasn't here, but I got thrown out somehow.
Maybe
by
it goes 8 until whenever.
Yeah, until they pick.
Until they pick.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So we have that coming up on Wednesday. We've talked about names of guys getting drafted, and we described their games. And there was some. You and I did the exercise last week, and there were some. Yeah, I think that would be cool. And there were others like, nah, that doesn't fit. Filipowski being one of them, and different. The kid Kolek from Marquette. I really liked his game. I wouldn't mind if somehow they got him, but whatever. Not a difference changer. But they have to make a big move. They sort of have to make a big move.
I don't think sorta. I think they
Okay,
have
good.
to.
I'm glad. I was hoping I was leading you down that.
I think they have to. I think this offseason is the most important offseason.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm looking at unrestricted free agents, club options, player options, and I have a list in front of me. And a lot of these guys have like a Sixers somewhat background.
Right.
When you're talking about the Tobias Harrises, the James Hardens, the Kyle Lowrys, the Buddy Hields. 4 names out of the top 10 that are on this list right now. So I'll throw out names to you, too. Now, we have the 3 obvious ones, so I'm going to kick them out. LeBron James, Paul George, and why am I drawing a blank?
Jimmy Butler, maybe?
Jimmy Butler, yes, which would have to be
That's
a trade.
Right.
So that's not even on my list. And that's why it wasn't in my mind, Tom. You haven't been here. I don't want Jimmy Butler at all. I'm done. Thank you for what you could have been and what I wish you were and this organization was with you. But it just didn't happen. So I'm done with that. Okay? So I'm going to give you names. I want you just to give me a percentage of what you think it is that the Sixers land this person. Okay?
All right.
All right. We'll start. I'm taking these 2 up, but here's one that we haven't talked about at all, and I have a strong feeling towards it, and it's Klay Thompson. Shooting guard, 34 years old. We know all about him with the Golden State Warriors. His previous AAV was $38 million. Unrestricted free agent. If you have the chance, Amy, I'll start with you.
No.
All right, so it's 0 for you. 0%.
0%.
Okay. What about you, Tom?
Now, is this for me or what I think the Sixers mindset is? Real quick, I just want to make sure.
How you want to put it, Aim? Let's put it Sixers mindset.
Okay.
So take your no
There
out
you
of
go.
it, Aim, you snob.
No. 5%.
Okay.
I was going to say similar, 5 to 10%, maybe a backup plan, not a ton of years.
Okay.
potentially.
I got another unrestricted free agent, soon to be 32. 13 years in the league, $36 million a year was his last contract. You know this name well, and I just mentioned it a couple seconds ago, and it is Tobias Harris. We can all laugh about it and all, but what is your thought that the Sixers might do?
I mean, sorry.
Daryl Morey has shown a propensity for liking players he is familiar with. I'll start with you, Tom. Amy was stammering and stuttering there.
If it was up to me, it would be in the negatives. I'll give it like a 2% chance. Just like if he doesn't sign anywhere, it's a minimum contract. Maybe they consider it too, or a very low contract, maybe very low though.
0.1%.
Okay. Yeah, I think Daryl Morey.
They do like players they're familiar with, but my gosh, like, no, you can't do that in this town, right?
I think the fans almost make that decision for Daryl Morey, right?
The man knows the pulse of the fan base. I think he realizes how that would go.
All right, I think you're good on that one. Unrestricted free agent, 34 years old, made $30 million a year last year with Oklahoma City. I don't think he's that. He is a small forward, Gordon Hayward. I have to describe Tom's face on that. There is a one lip up, a nod of the head back and forth, like maybe, maybe not, I don't know. So that's what Tom looked like. Amy, what say you? We'll go to you next.
I'm going to go with percentage chance for the Sixers. This is single digits for me. I don't like any of these people, so it's hard for me to separate Amy from the Sixers, but maybe they like him a little. He's not that guy. No, 3%.
Okay, all right.
It was a gross look, is what it was.
Yeah,
when I was thinking about
it was a.
not like me. Like
I got to force myself to think about this, don't I?
Maybe like 5%. Again, like if maybe a backup plan, a bench guy, he doesn't sign for that much money or years. Maybe, but not much.
Yeah,
not interested.
I'm with both of you on that. All right, here's another name, kind of related to the Sixers. 38 years old, 18 years in the league, won't command a whole lot of money. Unrestricted free agent, Kyle Lowry. The percentage, for those just listening, the percentage that Tom and Amy are putting out there is the percentage that they think the Sixers would sign these players. What say you, Amy, on Kyle Lowry?
I think there's a good chance. I think if they get him on a nice deal, like a veteran minimum type of deal, I think there's probably a 75% chance he's back.
Yeah, I was going to say 80. I think he wants to come back. I think the Sixers want him back. Hopefully no other contending team offers him more money or gives him a better opportunity. I'd say high.
Okay, I'm with 75 was the exact number I had in my head, Amy, before you said it. Here's a small forward, 35 years old, 15 years in the league. Got a little over $27 million last year. Unrestricted free agent, DeMar DeRozan. We're going to start with Tom on this. The percentage, again, is what percentage you think the Sixers would go after a guy like DeMar DeRozan.
I'll say like 15%. I think some fans out there like him a lot more than I think the Sixers do. I don't know how his fit is with Embiid not being able to shoot the three.
Tom.
So I'll go 15. Again, as a backup plan, they strike out on everyone else, maybe a 1 or 2 year deal. I go low, though, 15.
Yeah, I was going to say 15. That's exactly
really?
the number,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
thought there was
good.
it's like it wouldn't completely surprise me, but I think the fit is not ideal.
No,
and
it's not.
The numbers are not going to be ideal for whatever that contract is going to be either. But there is a chance if everything else doesn't come their way, it's all right. We can get him here on a nice deal.
Shooting guard, 31 years old, 8 years in the league. Made $23.5 million last year. Unrestricted free agent. You may know the name because it is Buddy Hield. See, you're sick of the Buddy Hield talk from your reaction.
Yeah. I think
that means you don't want him. Well, it doesn't matter what you want.
Exactly.
What do you think the Sixers are going to do?
I think there's a decent chance that they try him again. I'll give it 40.
40% chance.
My gut tells me lower. I was going to say like 10 to 15.
Well,
We've heard
I like that.
This is the biggest disparity we've had so far.
Yeah.
We've heard smoke with Lowry, with Kelly Oubre. We haven't really heard a ton of smoke with the Sixers being interested in Buddy Hield. It just didn't work here last year, so I think right now it's pretty low, but things can obviously change.
Yeah, so I had Buddy Hield at like 60% in my head. I was like a second-tier pay guy, a guy that you really didn't have a whole lot of chance to see him with Joel Embiid last year, a guy who did get hot at good times. You know, that play-in game, a playoff game. You know, you saw what he could do. Second-best three-point shooter in the league behind Steph Curry during his years in the league, second most made. I don't know. I think they give it a real good look.
I think he makes too much money elsewhere. I could see another team overpaying for Buddy Hield, and maybe the Sixers not really interested in going that route.
Now, that could be.
That could be the case. The reason I didn't bring it up is because I don't know if he may have hurt himself during his time with the Sixers last year. The other teams were like, oh, man, sure. Buddy Hield's starting to lose it at 32 years old, 31, 32 years old. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, I have some more names I'm going to throw out to Tom and to Amy once we get back from this break. Also, we have some text messages that we're going to get to. If you want to talk about, I threw it out there. It doesn't get much reaction, and I guess it's not surprising. When you talk about Matvei Michkov coming over, if it excites you or not, like what's the level of excitement? Well, the fact that nobody really chimed in tells me.
I think it's like people are just like, yeah, he's coming over.
Yeah, cool. Wait and see. It's still the Flyers.
See what we've got. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't say that in a bad way. I think fans in this city are like, wait a second. We got the Phillies before that. Sixers have a draft on Wednesday. Eagles are always going to be, a top dog in this city. So
wait your turn, Matvei.
That's right. So we're going to take a look at some more NBA names to see what Amy and Tom have to say about their chances of what the Sixers' chances of landing them may be. All that and a whole lot more. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Welcome back, middays, 97.5, The Fanatic. Amy and I just made a executive decision.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, she and I are going to go over some music over the next couple of days that we can try to incorporate so we can get rid of the drum part of Born to Run there, which we've had, I think, since I started for the show. But
it's always good to switch things up.
Oh, absolutely it is, yeah. We were watching an interview on ESPN this morning during the break, and I don't know who the people on there were. I don't really watch ESPN all that because, of course, I'm watching NBC Sports Philadelphia all the time.
But honestly, that's true for a lot.
Yeah, right?
It's just we consume sports in such a different way now.
Yeah, we do. And it's before, 10 years ago. It was
TV.
Always sports. But anyway, they were interviewing somebody in the sports world, obviously. And in his background, he's got a huge Springsteen poster to his left and a Springsteen to his right.
This isn't SportsCenter. This is actually MLB.
It is.
So I think it was.
I'm sorry. There was a sports figure on.
It was.
MLB.
I think it was a beat writer or something, and he had two Springsteen kind of like posters or album cover type of vibes. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't think I
You
do
judged.
that.
Yeah, you judged.
I did. I judged it. I said, no, I'd go to I'd go to a different room in the house. Like this guy has books all behind him. That's cool. Make it look like you're a real journalist.
Yeah.
Get those books back there that you never read.
My favorite is when we did our Zooms and Ray Didinger would be on with us, and he would have all of his national Emmys and like his, some kind of award for being the best sports writer of all time, and then the Hall of Fame. Like that's like the biggest Zoom flex of all time.
My God, I can't believe you just brought that up. You weren't here. I showed it to Tom earlier. So, as you know, I'm in a group text with Pat McClune, my old boss at the Daily News, and Eddie Barkowitz, who, one of my great friends from the Daily News, who I worked with for years. So, Jeff McClain, okay, and this is nothing on Jeff. This is nothing on any of this. This is people we don't even know. Jeff McClain gets an award, I believe it was this weekend, from the APSE. That's Associated Press Sports Editors. Sports editors. Editors are people that correct mistakes. Right, Aim? Editors.
Generally.
So there's a
They
picture.
also assign stories.
Yes. In this case, they are ones that vote for winners of awards. So it's a big thing. APSC, they meet in different parts of the country, Tom, you might not know, for like full weekends, 4 days to vote on all these different things. Best sports section for a circulation of 100,000 and more, and best features writer and best, daily beat writer. And that's what Jeff McClain won. He won, and congratulations to him. Absolutely. He won the best beat writer in the country for any sport. So there's a picture, and Eddie Barkowitz sends it to Pat McClune and I, of him shaking hands with Gary Petoskey, who was a sports editor at the Inquirer. I'm not really sure the title now. But anyway, shaking hands with Jeff holding his plaque.
Okay.
They spelled Inquirer wrong.
No, they did not.
Swear to God. Jeff McClain, beat writer of the year, APSC, all of that, Associated Press, sports editors. Jeff McClain, Philadelphia Inquirer, the national beat writer of the year for the Philadelphia ENQU. Yes, swear. Yeah,
I was thinking they forgot like the second I or something crazy.
Is that amazing?
They started it with E.
I'll show it to you, yeah.
That is...
Like the National Enquirer instead of the Inquirer, yes. Oh. So that was the... here, let me just pass it over to you.
We talk about the phrase, you had one job a lot.
Oh, my God.
You literally had one job there.
That is one job.
Amazing.
And the editors mess up the spelling.
Did the Inky have any other awards? Was this like across the board? Is there another?
No, I think no. I knew that he had won this for best writing in the A division for a beat writer. So we congratulate Jeff. And I know Jeff. He's probably looked at it and laughed and said, "Well, I'll have to send this back."
Yeah, going to get a new one of these.
Yeah, I mean it's just, and we have to also. I want to send some congratulations to Haley, who had her first story in print today. She was all excited. She had the paper with her, and I apologize. I don't know what paper it was. I think it was, the local Metro of her where she lives. I don't know. But, yeah, she had that. And I said, look, I still have in a frame, my wife got for me years ago, my first ever byline in the Daily News. And, God, it's from like 1992 or something. But we still have it. We had it hanging in one room in our old house. Funny, I don't know what happened to it now. I asked her, and she didn't lose it. I mean, it's my fault. But I was like,
it'd still be packed away. You don't know.
Yeah,
or it was in a box that didn't get unpacked.
I don't know. There might be because I did win. What was it? Pennsylvania Writer of the Year or whatever. And I did get a nice thing for that. I don't know where that is either. I think I lost them. I'm not really good at that stuff, but so be it. All right, Nick in Lawrenceville. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Nick?
Yes, hey. So I had a quick name for you, like for NBA free agency, like to, top things off. So how would you like OG Anunoby, depending on what they do with the Knicks, like how would you see him fitting into like a Sixers role here in Philadelphia? Like would that be a name that would draw attention?
I can't say yes quick enough, Nick.
Yeah, I think that it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to re-sign with the Knicks, unfortunately.
There's been now. I think you're talking about this, Nick. There's been some back and forth, right? That OG might not like the numbers that they're proposing to him right now.
Yes, and another thing is like, look what he did in Toronto. Like he already proved himself as an NBA championship, and then fast forward to last year, he put up really good numbers. With the Knicks last season, when injuries started to pile up for the Knicks, so, that's why I thought like OG Anunoby and then guys like, DeMar DeRozan, they sound good, but like, what would your thought be on that?
Yeah, the OG thing is interesting. And Nick, thanks so much for the call. The OG thing is interesting in that the Knicks got him last year as a really good piece.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the core of that team, he's like not out of it.
He's on the fringe of it.
Right. That's exactly how I was going to describe it. So are you paying top dollar for a guy you describe like that?
It's a fringe. Well,
now, I would, if you're going to say which one would you take, him or Dante DiVincenzo, I'd probably go with OG.
I would take OG for this Sixers team.
Yeah.
And the fit here, I think he moves the needle quite a bit. I think he fits into their scheme quite a bit.
So do I.
I think he rebounding, obviously, we know that's a big aspect of his game. He is shown to be this player. It was not a one-off with the Knicks. There's a reason the Knicks got him. He was popular for the Sixers to go out and get him last year. If you remember, the Knicks got him early. He was well before the trade deadline, almost maybe a month before. He was one of the first guys off the board. I think a lot of people knew that he was going to be out there. The things I've been reading, even though there's been some kind of disparity because the Knicks would have to, if they re-sign everybody they want to, they'll be over the luxury tax, so they're trying to rework these deals. I think at the end of the day, he will be a Knick. I think they'll work that out because I think he likes the situation up there. He sees what's happening. But it doesn't mean the Sixers can't come in and wow him with something. You don't want to overpay, but you do want to make him think, this is a good situation here too. You're playing with most improved player in Tyrese Maxey, an all-star. You're playing with a former MVP, all-star, in Joel Embiid. And I think that is a draw. And Nick Nurse is a draw. So I think that there are things they can do. It depends if he wants to, if he wants to make the move. He already knows what it's like in New York.
I think Leon Rose and Worldwide West will get it done up there. Yeah. So good name though. So we'll end this. I'm going to give you more names later to the two of you, but OG Anunoby, percentages from the two of you. Landing with the Sixers.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
12.
That was extremely specific.
I was just like, I don't know. He's not going to end up here. He's going to be a Knick, but I don't want to say no.
Zero's an answer.
No, because there's an outside chance, I suppose.
I'll say like 20 because if he doesn't come to the Knicks, I think the Sixers are all over him. Now I worry about them giving him big time money. What does he look like as a third option? But I'll go 20, not 12, not 21, but I'll go 20.
All right, when we get back, Jordan Hall from NBC Sports Philadelphia, covers the Flyers, is going to join us to talk about Matvei Michkov because it looks like the 19-year-old will be coming over. Also, later on the show, I am going to give some more names to both Tom and Amy about what their thoughts may be on what the Sixers may be thinking on signing some free agents. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back, just around the noon o'clock hour. Hope you're all having a great Monday, getting by. Hope you had a great weekend, too. I know a lot of us around here did, as we've been talking about it. So, big sports news this weekend here in Philadelphia as Matvei Michkov, his contract gets, for lack of a better term, torn up over in the KHL over in Russia. So it looks like he will be coming here shortly. So to talk about it with us on our Comcast Business Hotline from NBC Sports Philadelphia, we're glad to have, first time on our show, on our midday show, Jordan Hall. Jordan, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. And what a weekend. You know, we kind of heard little hints or maybe wishful thinking, but if you can, explain to everybody out there in Philadelphia area exactly what happened and what it looks like moving forward with Matvei Michkov and the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, so a source told me on Sunday that Matvei Michkov's contract with his KHL team, St. Petersburg, was being terminated. He was being released from that contract, which very much signaled the arrival of Michkov coming to the Flyers here, that being very real. So now I think we're just waiting to see when he will sign his entry-level contract, and he will be over here. It looks like all signs are pointing to that 2 years earlier than anticipated. So I think that's a real significant victory for the Flyers rebuild. This is a guy that was drafted 7th overall last summer, but in many people's eyes, he was easily considered a top 5 talent and maybe even a top 3 or 2 talent in that draft. And the Flyers, because of where they've been over the last 10 or 12 years, kind of a middling team, a fringe playoff team or a non-playoff team, they have not had premier draft position. The one year they even lucked into a high pick, 2017, they missed on it. So to have a kid of this caliber coming over 2 years before anyone envisioned him coming over, I think it's a big deal for the Flyers. He's going to be a big ticket, and I think he definitely puts their rebuild into a different gear.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan. It's always good to hear from you. And it's always nice to talk to you. But that's one thing that I was going to ask you. You were talking about a guy that could change the trajectory of a franchise, and they haven't had one of those in a long time as far as what he's going to be able to do. All we can see is what is on the internet, and it looks very good. We read all of the comments as far as these evaluations, and they're glowing. When you think about what he can do as far as this rebuild goes, and the fact they caught a little bit of a lightning in the bottle with last season, the way they started, how much will he change this team right away? Because he is still just 19, but it seems like he is a franchise-changing type of talent.
Absolutely, Aim. And I do think patience will be required. And I think, for the most part, the fan base will be patient. I think they've already been patient for a while here now, and especially with Denny Briere and Keith Jones on board, where they've been very publicly open to a rebuild. I think fans have bought into that. And the reason I think patience will be required is he's 19 years old. The language barrier is always something that's going to be there. When we spoke to him last summer at the draft in Nashville, he did not know English. So even just being receptive to coaching, I think the language barrier is going to obviously play a factor into that. And the Flyers need more talent. There's just no sugarcoating it. Danny Briere even said 4 days ago that they lack centers in the organization. It's a premium position, and they are really thin there. They've only taken one center in the first round over the last 11 drafts that is still on the roster, and that's Morgan Frost. So I think it's no secret they need to hit on more centers in the draft, and Matvei Michkov is a winger, and I think every great winger has a good center. So they're going to need to support him with more talent and not expect him to change things overnight. But he is still a dynamic, prolific talent that I think the organization has not seen in quite some time. And he's going to have a chance to, I think, bolster what they want to do here in this rebuild. But they still need to supplement things, and I think they have a great opportunity to do it. They have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 drafts. It's always going to be best player available at the top pick, but I think the Flyers, knowing they have 4 first-rounders, would have loved to hit on a center here, get a center with top 6 upside, and kind of envision him playing alongside Michkov for a long time.
We're talking to Jordan Hall on the Comcast Business Hotline from NBC Sports Philadelphia. And Jordan, let's go back to the, about 35-year-old question, which we thought was settled, but then because of off-the-ice happenings is not settled. What's the Flyers' goalie situation going into next season? Of course, this is all the Matvei Michkov talk, but I do look at Sam Ersson and I do look at Ivan Fedotov. What are we looking at for next year as far as goalies go? Is that it right there?
Bob, I'm glad you brought that up because you speak of question marks like, okay, what does Mishkov do? Well, yeah, he's a very good player, but he plays on the wing and he can't prevent the puck from going in the net like a goalie can. To me, goaltending is still the biggest question mark for the organization. Carter Hart obviously is out indefinitely because of the sexual assault case with Hockey Canada, and it looks like that's really going to drag on. It's uncertain if he'll ever play for the Flyers again. So now everything is turning towards Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedotov. Ersson was a rookie last season that wore down the stretch because he played too much. And Fedotov is a guy that we really have no clue if he's going to be a great NHL goalie or a guy that just doesn't cut it here at this level. So it's the most important position in the game, and the Flyers, I think, are still trying to find answers there. Right now, going into camp, the plan is to have Ersson and Fedotov make up their tandem. But the Flyers have been, I think, drafting and trying to develop goalies. They have some in the system that I think they're high on. But it'll be very interesting to see how Ersson fares in a full season as a number one and what Fedotov can do to kind of spell him from time to time and see if this KHL goalie, who was out of hockey a couple years ago because of military service, if he can cut it here at the NHL level. So the Flyers have big questions in net, and goaltending is going to go a long way. They were tied for last in the league last season in save percentage. And it's a big reason why I think they missed the playoffs on the final day of the year. So they're going to need more answers in net.
When you're looking at it, you mentioned that they've drafted guys, and I feel like the Flyers looking for a goalie is the same kind of broken record we've had with the Eagles looking for a linebacker. Like it's just one of those things they have yet to solve. But drafting wise, they've drafted a few. They do have the draft coming this week. They are at number 12. And I was reading, and you've got some really good stuff on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com about some of the guys they could take. Is there a chance they take another goaltender on the off chance that they can work him up through the system?
Great question, Amy. I think with 10 picks, they will strongly consider taking a goalie at some point. But they have focused on goalie in the past couple of drafts. Last summer, they even traded up into the second round to grab a kid named Carson Bjarnason, who they're very high on. They also drafted a Russian the next round of that draft, Igor Savragin, who's pretty good. He's playing in the KHL. And they also have a kid named Alexei Kolosov, who just joined the Phantoms at the end of this season. And they're also very high on him. So I think they've done a quality job of preparing for life after Carter Hart, understanding that something was down the pike with this Hockey Canada sexual assault case and that Hart might not be with them moving forward. So I do think they had some pieces in-house, but it would not surprise me at all if they try to grab another goalie in this draft. They have 10 picks. It's a lot of picks, a couple first-rounders, second-rounders as well, that I think they'll try to target a goalie and continue to give themselves as many options as possible to find that franchise goalie that I think this city has been kind of yearning for, like you said, Amy, quite some time, probably going back to Ron Hextall.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jordan, you brought up earlier in our conversation about patience by the fans, patience that has been kind of preached by Keith Jones, by Danny Briere. You bring in a Michkov, and this team starts to play maybe pretty well, much like they did at the beginning of last year. And you have some younger guys that are pretty good players in the Tippett's, the Frost, obviously Konechny, Farabee, those guys. If they kind of start out like that, do you think patience may wander a little bit and Keith Jones and Danny Briere say, all right, we're preaching it, but if we have a chance to go out and get a guy or two that could probably take us to a playoff, do you think the minds might change a little?
I think it very much could. I strongly believe in-house the Flyers believe they're a better team than what they probably are perceived outside. And listen, they're smart to preach rebuild and preach patience. I mean, if anything, it just buys you a longer leash with the fan base if you're open about that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think they feel they have decent ingredients in-house already, and I think they do too. If you look at their roster, if you look at their depth chart, a lot of forwards 25 and younger that took strides this past season and I think have more upside, have a lot more there, and they have picks too. They have draft picks, so they're only going to be adding to that talent pool. And, yeah, I think absolutely they could get a little more creative if they come along faster. They did miss the playoffs, and the only reason they missed it was because they lost 9 of their last 11 games. They very much collapsed out of the playoff race. And Pete Jones had some very interesting comments earlier this month about after this season, going into 25-26, the offseason prior to that year, they're going to have a lot of cap coming off the books for players that aren't playing for them. So I really think if Michkov comes here this season and he gets his feet wet and they start to have some more answers there, they could be in a position next offseason to be a lot more aggressive in free agency, a lot more aggressive via trade to try to push this thing forward. So I really think it could be coming into focus. And, of course, Michkov goes a long way to that happening.
One thing we were talking about earlier, Jordan, was the type of coach that John Tortorella is with a guy like Matvei Michkov coming in. And my first thought is like, oh, I don't know, because he is bristly. We'll call him bristly. We're going to go with that.
No, you called him bristly.
Bristly.
Yeah.
I'm going to call
don't
him.
put weight on it.
Yeah,
That's you,
sorry,
Amy.
I called him bristly.
Don't get Bob in trouble.
And Bob thinks he's a
No, I'm trying to keep you out of trouble, Jordan.
golden retriever.
That's right.
But I also thought, like, when I was kind of working it through my head, I thought, well, here's a guy, as you mentioned, doesn't know anything about the NHL, has never played over here, has never played North American hockey. He's not coming up through the Canadian system, which obviously is very similar. Maybe a guy that is very structured, the way that Tortorella is, and old school could be helpful to him, even if he is a 19-year-old, phenomenal type of player. What do you think that kind of marriage will be between this kid at 19 coming over from the KHL and a coach like John Tortorella?
I think that goes without saying that the Tortorella-Michkov relationship could be one of the more fascinating things to watch in Philadelphia sports. I do think Tortorella does not get enough credit for developing younger talent. He's been very open about wanting to play younger players. I think he's done a nice job with a number of younger players on the roster, Tyson Forster being one, and so many others, Cam York on the back end. But he is a coach that holds everyone accountable. He has benched his highest paid players. He has benched his captain. Will he hold Matvei Michkov in the same regard? Will he send that message to his roster that, listen, Michkov is super talented. We think he's the most talented player on the roster in the organization, but we're going to hold him to the same regard as everyone else, the same standard. So how they kind of tiptoe that and strike the right balance there, I think, will be critical. I do think the Flyers are going to have a lot of people in place to make sure Michkov's coming along well. They have some Russians on the roster that I think will go a long way. They have some people in their development staff that I think are going to be able to connect with him and make sure things are going well. But I really think Tortorella and Michkov will be something to watch all season long. How can they connect with this kid and make sure he's developing properly? Because the last thing they want to do is have him take steps backward or have him regress. Like any prospect, you want every year to be precious and be all about development and going forward. Tortorella and Michkov and how that develops will be pretty important to that.
Jordan, I know it's early to do this, and we'll end the conversation with this question for you. If you have an NHL comparison, maybe, that I don't know if you've gone on to Russia and seen him play in person, but just maybe an NHL comparison that you've either heard or that what you've seen you relate to as Michkov being, who might it be?
It's so funny you asked that because I think even the strongest of Flyers fans, the diehards, probably have not seen him play much just because of the reality of him playing in Russia, a massive time difference. It's difficult to find live streams of his games. So we've all seen just highlights and we've heard from people that have been around him about him. One that I really enjoyed was last summer, Brent Flair, the assistant GM who oversees their scouting efforts. He didn't compare him to Pavel Bure, but said he celebrates like him. And Pavel Bure, of course, a Hockey Hall of Famer, Russian, big-time goal scorer, and apparently he celebrated like the best of them. And he said, Brent Flair just mentioned that he loved the way Michkov loved to score goals and the way he celebrated and reacted after goals. And to me, that just was kind of fun. I kind of pictured him in a Flyers jersey doing that at the Wells Fargo Center. So I think if we see him on the ice this season, you're going to see some fun celebrations, a fired-up kid. He's got a real kind of swagger to him, and I think Philly's going to kind of wrap its arms around that.
Well, Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and I think you're going to have a lot more fun covering the Philadelphia Flyers this season with the addition. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Bob. Thanks so much, Amy. Great to talk to you guys.
All right,
Jordan.
Jordan Hall from NBC Sports Philadelphia, and a lot of interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And, one of my questions that I kind of had that I, was thinking of, and I crossed out of my mind because of the way Jordan was talking, there's not going to be any him not being directly in a Flyers uniform right away. There's no phantoms in his future.
No, I think
There's
it's like, you're here. Let's go.
Yeah, Tom, did you think maybe there could have been that, or is this a no-brainer?
I remember seeing a rumor a couple weeks back that part of the contract, if he did come over here, was that he couldn't be sent down to the minors.
okay.
I don't know the validity of that, but I do remember seeing that. When you're a phenom like Michkov is, and you have that much talent, I need him up with the big team. Phantoms, I'm good. No, thank you.
I'll tell you what, I'm putting him on the first line, whoever your other center or your center and your other wingman is. I'm doing that. Here you go, kid.
Right?
Go get
Here
him,
you go.
kid.
Let's go.
Have at it. Now, it's interesting. Jordan brought up about, we'll see how Tortorella handles it. And I don't think there can be any question, and I don't think there should be any question with John Tortorella. I think he handles it like he handles everything else. That's who John Tortorella
Which
is.
I appreciate.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's any. Look, we have a superstar coming in. If I treat him any differently, it's only because, if I'm a player and I hear that, I'm like, really? So what? The day that we skate for 2 hours without a puck, you're not going to have him doing it? Or, I think he's thrown into the fire right away, Aim.
Absolutely. And I think that's what, when you're making this deal, and we obviously don't know until he comes over how this whole thing went as far as getting out of the contract, because that was such a big wall to have to scale.
Yeah.
Can they let him out? KHL doesn't usually do that. I mean, we learned that with Fedotov too. Like, all right, this is kind of like some squirrely stuff over there. So I imagine there's things that they've been talked about, and I would think there was a guy, 19, 7th overall, as Jordan said, top 5, maybe even top 2 or 3 type of talent. That is a let's go. You've been playing at the KHL. It's not like he's coming up through, high school hockey, college hockey.
I was letting you go because I was wondering where you're going there.
You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say pond hockey or something like that. Yeah.
No, pond hockey.
No.
Do you know what I mean? He's been playing at a decent level.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think there's no question in my mind he's out there. Training camp will be very important to see where he is on, the depth chart as far as what they do with him, but I don't think there's not a question in my mind that he's up there right away.
Yeah, and as Jordan mentioned, a lot of draft picks for the Flyers coming up. They have the ability, if they so choose during the season, to, you know what, let's go get a guy that's scored 30 goals in the past 5-6 years of the league, in a trade deadline type of thing. So a lot of options out there still for your Philadelphia Flyers, but the big news, obviously, Matvei Michkov coming over, contract ripped up, done, KHL later. I imagine they'll look to get him over here ASAP.
Yes, get him acclimated. Jordan mentioned, when he was drafted, he was a guy he speaks no English at all.
Yeah, English is easy to learn.
Well, I'll be interested to see because we talked about this.
Seems like
previously.
Everybody in the world knows 2 languages, except us Americans, but whatever.
Yeah, well, that's a story for another day, but I agree with you on that. But I think that I'll be interested to see if they don't have a translator, because when they brought over Sergei Bobrovsky, when they drafted him, they had a translator that was always there,
right,
or tried to be always there.
Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't gamble.
No, I think she actually ended up being like a reporter, and they sent her over from Russia, and they just basically used her as a translator.
Okay.
She would translate quite a bit for Bobrovsky back in the day.
Huh. Bob goes tonight. Big game tonight for Bob.
Big game for Bob. Big game, Bob.
Somebody said he wasn't even practicing yesterday.
Doesn't have to practice.
But I forget who I was listening, but they said
I don't think he showed up, right? He didn't even
he's
show up
mentally out of it. Like, they're scary, Bobrovsky, or Bob's going a little bit nuts
Bob
now.
went cuckoo.
Bob done going cuckoo. Yeah, so Game 7 tonight, hockey.
Who do you want to win?
You cannot be Edmonton.
Me too.
I'm
like all in on Edmonton, and I have no horse in the race at all.
So at the beginning of the playoffs, I texted Egan, and I was like, yo, dude, Edmonton's my team. And he's like, so much fun offensively. They don't have enough goaltending, not going to win it. So I kind of want to go back to him a little bit and be like,
you
were wrong.
Sure.
But I shouldn't have said that because now I just jinxed myself.
Yeah, no,
But
it's been fun to watch.
yeah, it has
Edmonton,
a
the last
lot of
couple.
fun to watch. Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun here today. We talked Phillies, talked Flyers, talked some Sixers, Eagles. They're still a month away from training camp, so not much to talk about there, and I don't feel like bringing up revisionist history on anything that anybody said maybe 3-4 weeks ago because I'm good to go on all that stuff. But when we get back, I do want to give Tom and Amy a couple more names of maybe interest level by the 76ers when it comes to these players as you have the NBA draft coming up on Wednesday night. This is Middays. I'm Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Welcome back, middays, a little past 12:30 on this Monday. Hope you're having a great one. Bad storms last night. I don't know if you guys got them where you were. You only had a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
So it's funny. We had a friend over, and she and my wife were swimming in the pool and stuff like that. You know, I was hanging out, and I start looking at the clouds, and I was going to barbecue. So I started getting things. I had everything ready, Amy. You would have been proud of me.
Very proud.
The meat was marinated. I had already put the skewers all together. So
you were ready to go.
They were in the refrigerator. I was making shrimp also. That was already ready to go to put on the grill. Everything was ready. The corn was already husked. I had everything ready to roll. So I'm playing out in my head, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it looks like it's going to rain in a little bit. So I'm going to start dinner a little earlier. So I get on the grill and stuff like that. And then I look up in the sky, and I'm like, hey, ladies, I think it's time to get out of the pool and, get dry and ready for dinner. And they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't like the clouds were right there.
Yeah.
I just knew it was coming in a little bit. So they get out of the pool, and our friend Dawn goes and gets her phone. And she goes, oh, wow, it's showing it's going to be pouring here in like a half an hour. And I said, perfect. That's exactly what I had.
Great.
We went inside. Now, I don't live on an extravagant anything. Like, our neighbors are right there, and our across the street is like, it's a whatever, not that far. I could not see my neighbor's house across the street when it was raining at its hardest.
Oh, wow.
And I've never, I'm not kidding. I could not see a thing. It was horrible.
It's aggressive.
But the weird thing was, now Salciunas was telling me that down where he is, that the thunder and lightning were really bad. We didn't get thunder and lightning because our dog goes crazy when there's thunder, panting and, all that. I mean, we may have gotten minimal because she was a little upset, but not to the type she's been before. But, Tom, was it crazy? Because we're both in South Jersey. Was it crazy where you were?
Yeah, relatively. I mean, I could still see the neighbor's house, so maybe it wasn't as bad where we were, like 15 minutes away. But it was pouring like crazy for a while. We were going to grill, and then we ended up doing pasta instead inside because you
were at the wine bar. You were at the wine
that was earlier
winery
in the day,
all day.
Which you got to check out, by the way. But yes. It was crazy where we were, too, for a little while.
No, we didn't get any of that.
I could see going, like Tom was telling me this morning, I said, how was your weekend? He and his fiance went to a new winery over in South Jersey that's kind of near the both of us because Tom and I don't live too far from each other.
Do tell.
Yeah, and I said, I hadn't heard of this place. And then as Tom's telling it, I'm thinking, Tom's a dude I could go to, you always say, I could go out and get a beer with this guy. Tom's a guy I could go to a winery with.
I think you, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of a brewery guy, but, when the fiance
I've had brews with you, too.
Yeah. When she wanted to try the winery.
It's a compliment.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I would love to have a beer on top.
Yeah.
Or a glass of wine. Or a new glass of wine because you're there for the tasting.
People often ask, like, hey, do you ever think about, like, if you're done, when you're done working or whatever? Because I guess I'm getting to that age where people start to think about it. But I was like, yeah, one, I'll never stop working in my life. I do have two things that I would like to do if I don't do this for the rest of my life. And one of them is be a starter at a golf course.
That would be fun.
And I'm not kidding you. Every time I go to golf, I'll always go up to the starter and say hi or stuff like that and get a conversation and say, so, when I'm done working, I might want to come work for you here. So that, or I might call Joe Blanton.
And go with his winery?
Yeah, be a sommelier.
Oh, I don't see you as a sommelier.
That's kind of like I see you down and dirty in the gutter, Bob.
I thought maybe you were like there to like help.
Why?
That's a lot of schooling to be an actual sommelier.
That is expertise we're talking about.
Do I pronounce it wrong? I thought it was just sommelier.
Yeah, it's not like sommelier. It's sommelier, I believe. But also,
she brings class to the show.
I think that
glad somebody knows.
Tom and I both said sommelier before the show.
I would enjoy
sommelier.
I don't know, sommelier, whatever it is. I feel like that's maybe just too much schooling for what you would want to do in a post career.
I don't like school.
Do you really want to go to like do all that extra stuff?
Probably not. I thought it was just I go around and learn to pair wines with meals and say.
But you have to tell people, yes, that is one of the reasons. Yes, and then you have to talk about the body of it and where the flavors hit and what part of the tongue. It's insane.
Like, still talking wine, right?
Yeah, they'll be like,
wow,
on the front.
There's that much into it, huh?
They'll talk about the aroma and the bouquet that opens up.
Did you ever see like did you ever go to a wine? Have either one of you ever done a wine class?
I mean, I've been to a winery where they've done wine classes through all of their wines. Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah. So we had friends of ours one night that we used back to where we used to live. We would get together. You know, there was a group of like 10 couples or something, and we would just plan different things like once a month or whatever. You know, somebody do something. Well, one of the couples had a wine expert come to their house with different bottles of wine and give us all a wine class and like how to look for good wines, to spin the glass. You tilt the wine in the glass,
legs.
and if it doesn't leave, you know, any trail of it, that shows that's a good wine. Like, you know, different things like that.
Those are called legs.
I don't even know why I try to like educate people, because you know it all anyway.
As your next career as a sommelier.
I need to know that.
Yeah. She's
I
trying
need
to
to
help you
learn
out.
legs
Come on.
and
I
tongue. Okay, so so I think it's really funny when we got when I was covering the Sixers. Obviously, you're going out to eat an awful lot all over the country. I would always love it when either people in our group, would like get a glass of wine and be that smart. I
love that.
Wine guy. Like, I would love watching it.
I love to go out to dinner with a person like that, because I'm like, I got nothing here, fella.
No, because usually we're finishing our first glass of wine and putting it down, and they're still like checking the legs.
Seeing the residuals.
How do you like that?
Seeing what there's the tannins or whatever they call it. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
Is there? See, you're well more. You're
But how
better to
much-
become a sommelier than I am.
How much do you enjoy it? Like, I'll order the bottle of wine, say I'm out with friends or whatever.
And they give you the first taste.
and I have to put on that. Sean thinks it's hilarious because he's like, you have no idea what you're doing.
No,
but I look like I do.
And this is
That's all
what
that
I always
matters.
want to do. Now,
Exactly. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I favor a BYOB because you can pick your own. It's cheaper, all of that stuff. But I don't even know if, I think once maybe I was that guy. But I would love to just get it and go,
Terrible.
nah, you got something else?
Yeah, the corkage was terrible.
So they just open it. They give you a little taste of it. What if you do say no?
Sometimes you can get it. Then they have to take it back. I've worked as a waitress. What do you do? Do you recork it? No, that's it.
Do you share it among yourselves? Maybe after work?
Well, when I worked, I've worked a couple different places, but we would have, it was kind of a fancy country club vibe, and we had one, it didn't come back on my table, but it came back, and so it just sat at the bar, and we drank from it later, because what do we care?
Yeah, right?
But sometimes, and I asked, like, they did have a wine-ish person. I don't know if they were a full-on sommelier, but a wine-ish person there. And I was like, what was wrong with it? And he tasted it, and he was like, yeah, this is not a good bottling.
Oh, wow.
Whatever it was. Like, he could tell either something.
And you're like, okay, pour me another glass.
And the rest of the staff
Tastes
was
fine to
like,
me.
okay, well, we'll see you at midnight. Glass of wine.
Yeah,
because
here's
I'm
your
gonna
bad
drink
good
you.
stuff. I'll drink it anyway.
Because the wine was probably an $80 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
But I guess whoever ordered it knew what it was supposed to taste like.
I don't know.
Or it
There
was
you
just a friend of one of the bartenders who wanted to drink later.
Give us a little extra.
Yeah.
This is a terrible bottle.
Well, speaking of stuff like that, you have to check out the Fanatic deal of the week, Amy, because you can get $50 to 8 and Sand Beer Company for just $25. It's located in Woodbury, New Jersey. 8 and Sand Beer Company features 20 taps at their 40-foot bar, a must-stop for all who love breweries and craft beer. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Who doesn't love a brewery?
Love a good brewery.
Tom's a winery type of guy this weekend. There's also
He's a
breweries.
brewery guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So last time I saw Tom out was at a brewery. So very good.
You
All right,
usually
well,
find me there. Yeah,
that's
how it works.
on Friday. All right, when we get back, a lot more to talk about. We have some news in the NBA. There's some extensions being given. I got to tell you, if I'm Tyrese Maxey, I'm sitting pretty right now looking at these numbers and going, hey, that's going to be me real soon. We'll take a look at that, whole lot more. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
Amy Fadul joining us all day long today, which we absolutely love. We do have some NBA news here, and that's that the Cleveland Cavaliers have hired Kenny Atkinson as their new head coach. So they have that going on. And I got to say, I wouldn't mind being Tyrese Maxey looking at this news, because Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors just signed a rookie contract extension, maximum, 5 years, $270 million.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's incredible.
Like,
Wow.
Tyrese Maxey's going to get that. Rookie, maximum.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same
extension.
obviously, because that's what he would be on.
That's
well,
what he's.
didn't he, the one, though, he didn't make the All-NBA, so it went down
Yes.
a little bit.
I
Didn't
think it's
that
like
happen?
254.
But still, not bad.
Sorry, Tyrone.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to tease you there, buddy.
Tyrese.
What'd I say, Tyrone? I was just talking to Tyrone. Tyrese, sorry, you're going to have to settle for 250. You don't have to look
Poor
at
guy.
Tom. He marked down the time. 12:48. Yeah, he'll grab it after the show, or maybe during. We were talking earlier about like Bryson Stott sitting at home making $768,000 this year, which is like nothing in Major League Baseball. And here we are talking about, I give
know.
him like, 330, 550.
Every time you were giving us these different players as far as like percentage that the Sixers would be interested in them or whatever else, and you're giving these numbers, they're currently their value is their contract $24 million. I'm thinking we thought it was a really good deal to give like $7 million to Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh is thinking maybe if he had some hops out there in the outfield, maybe change a little bit and play a little basketball.
Yeah.
They're also all guaranteed contracts, just like. Of course, the NFL now has a lot of guaranteed deals.
Yeah, they do.
They didn't used to do that.
Especially those guys that throw the ball. Those ones. They get a lot of guaranteed money for them. So yeah, we were talking earlier about and we're going to go back to the list of free agents. And I asked Tom and I asked Amy, I'm going to give you the name of a player, and I want you to let me know the percentage, not that you would do, but percentage you think the Sixers would give that guy as far as becoming a 76er. Because you have the draft on Wednesday night, and other than that, you don't have any other players on the team except right now Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey will soon lock up that free agent deal, similar to what we just talked about with Scotty Barnes. But when do you think that'll get done, Aim?
The free agent, the Maxey deal?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think seeing a contract like what Scotty Barnes just got, I would imagine, Tyrese he's not stateside. I've seen him, I follow him on Instagram. He's all over the place. He's been in
where is he?
He was in London. He was in France and Spain. I think he's all over the place. So I imagine when he gets back, but I would think sooner rather than later, before the 30th.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's a guarantee.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You're overseas and you're like, oh, wow, look at this. Oh, that's the contract I'm probably going to get. Not that he probably doesn't already know, but I'm trying to get back to the list that we had here. So if I sound a little, I think this is it right here. And there it is. Yes, good. So when we last spoke to you all about NBA free agency, the last name that we went with was former Sixer Buddy Hield. Now, here's what the exercise is for those of you out there listening. I'll give you a name of potential free agents, and I want Amy and Tom to give me the percentage that they think the Sixers would do in signing this guy.
Yeah.
So, Amy, I'll start with you. I'm going to go to a different name here. It's a point guard, a little over 28 years old, player option, but if you could somehow get it away.
Okay.
He made $18 million last year, and that is D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I saw when we first looked at the free agency kind of follower countdown, whatever clock they have on all these guys, I thought, wow, he would be an interesting piece. But he's a player option, and it's like, all right, what are you looking at? What are the numbers you'd have for him for a guy that I deem an interesting piece? I don't know, percentage-wise, I'm not like I don't think it's good, but he is an intriguing player to me, so I'm going to give him 15%.
Okay, and it's funny. I've said on here often, and you know from our talks on the side of not being on the show, I love left-handed point guards.
Yeah, you do.
I don't love D'Angelo Russell's game for some reason, but then because I didn't, I kind of stopped concentrating on him when I watched games because that was the whole Jahlil Okafor stuff and all that. So I would have to really take a look. He's only 28 years old still. I'd have to go back and look at D'Angelo Russell's game and numbers and all that stuff. But
I'd look for him more of what he's done recently. Don't go all the way back to the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell. That wasn't a great time for him.
Yeah. So interesting name, Tom. Any I don't know, solid, because we're going for strong feelings here is what I said when we opened the segment or this topic rather. Strong feelings towards anything?
Yeah, for D'Angelo Russell, I'd give it maybe 10% max. I don't know. Again, I haven't really heard any smoke with D'Angelo Russell in the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm also curious what a backcourt of D'Angelo Russell and Tyrese Maxey looks like defensively. That worries me a little bit.
No, you got to score a lot.
Yeah, if you're paying him that big type of money like that. So I'd say probably low.
All right, we already talked about OG Anunoby, who we all believe, is somehow going to work out up in New York. Should he not, we all think that the Sixers could have a pretty good shot at him because that would be somebody I think they would be inclined to go after. So we already talked on that a little bit. Here's another one here that has former Sixers ties. 26 years old, been in the league for 7 years, made $16.6 million last year. I don't want you to laugh. He's a point guard who has some size. Markelle Fultz. I told you not to laugh.
I'm sorry.
Can I say zero without saying 0%?
Technically, it's there's no way.
No?
No.
Different general manager back then, different coach back then.
Fit, vibe, no. And the thing is, I think Markelle has a better opinion of Philadelphia now that he's been away from it. I think he appreciated what was the vibe here and how everything went. He doesn't have any ill will, but no.
Yeah, not as low as Tobias.
It starts with a laugh.
I'd be interested. Look, a bench guy maybe. I think he's made a career.
How far down the bench?
If he was getting minutes with Orlando, I feel like he was playing a good amount of time with Orlando last year.
Oh yeah, he was like a six-man coming off and getting you some double-figure scoring.
Let's see, he has a better career than Ben Simmons right now.
He plays basketball, so that's good.
Yeah.
So the bar for the Ben Simmons bar is really low. That's like he dribbles a basketball on the court.
That
in
helps.
a uniform.
That's
So
helpful.
therefore,
Off the top of your head, is there anybody that I missed? Because there's more names, but they're kind of maybe like a Valanciunas as a backup center, something like that. Is
Hartenstein on there?
Hartenstein is not, because is that a player option? He is not on here. Yes, he is. There he is. He is a unrestricted free agent. You like you some Hartenstein?
I don't hate it. It made me jog my memory when you said the backup center. There's a guy I think you could get a decent deal on, and I think that he has proven that he could be a viable backup. That's a guy that I would take a flyer on.
Joe Ingles? All right, left-handed.
5%.
Amy says no. He's 37 years old.
Yes, he's been in the league forever.
Wow. How about that? Okay, so as we close out this segment, it comes to a question I have for the two of you.
I think I only have...
Who the hell is on this roster next year?
I think I only the one guy. I think it was Kyle Lowry. I said was 75%, and that was it. Right?
Yeah.
That was the only person I had doubled.
I mean,
maybe I had
Nick
a 20%.
Batum they might bring back, and then,
I think there could be a desire.
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre, I think, that's
so
a
we're
good
still
percentage,
talking like
80%.
4 or 5 people here.
Yeah.
So that tells me that Morey has to make a trade because the free agent list out there is nothing
There's
that...
some good trade targets that I think are going to be out there.
If it's not a trade, then we're in some trouble here.
KCP, I think, is a good
Sure.
option.
Yeah, it was a name that's down here, too, yeah. Luke Kennard. Amy hates Duke people, so we can't go there. KCP is on here. Davis Bertans? I don't know. I don't know. Something's got to give.
Davis Bertans was good when he was with the Wizards
Davis.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
He had one good year, and he generated into a tremendous contract. Good for him, but no, he is not that player.
Yeah.
As he has shown since that contract signed.
There's a lot of different things going on. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Some of the questions will be answered on Wednesday. We'll see how it all happens. All right, when we come back, I've heard this on the morning show numerous times from Andrew Salciunas. I can't go there. I don't know where you are if you can go there. Nothing against Andrew. It's what he feels. I don't feel it. I want to see how you guys feel, not just when it comes to one team, but all of our teams here in Philadelphia. I'll explain when we get back. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays, a little after 1 o'clock. Aim, you remember when we were on the air here at 12 o'clock?
Yes.
That was a cool hour, wasn't it?
It was a great hour.
Yeah. Well, that's
The
because
best hour.
It was brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. You can get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. So, a lot going on this week. I do want to send a reminder also. NBA draft coverage. It's coming up Wednesday night right here on 97.5 The Fanatic, because we're going to bring you live coverage from the Sixers facility in Camden with D. Lynam and Tyrone Johnson. They're going to be on the air starting at 8 o'clock to take you through that first round of action, as well as insight and perspective on what the Sixers strategy will be for the draft and free agency. It's all on here, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. So, down at the practice facility on Wednesday for that first round. Okay, you guys know how much we all love Andrew Salciunas. Love's a strong word.
Yes.
But to make it look like we all like each other, I'll say love. So, Salciunas has come on many times and said, and I say this all the time, you can't help your feelings. You feel the way you feel. You can't help it. He feels that the Eagles are NFC contenders. I think he might have even taken it up to Super Bowl contenders. That's his expectation. That's fine. That's the way he feels. As I said, you can't help how you feel. I'll ask you this, and we'll start with the Eagles. Is that hopeful? Is that realistic? Or is that just downright crazy?
Those are my three.
Yeah, those are the three. Because, and I'm not just talking about Andrew. We look at the landscape of what the Eagles are. We know what they did this offseason. I heard one national reporter go on today saying, look, Saquon Barkley thing for the Eagles, that might be Christian McCaffrey-like. That's what they're foreseeing. And this is an NFL expert, and I'm sorry I didn't remember who said it. They have an offense on paper which is crazy good. They have a new offensive coordinator who is getting rave reviews. The defense, you can look at it any way you want. Maybe Vic Fangio is the guy. I don't know. You guys kind of know where I stand. But what is Andrew's take of, let's go first, Super Bowl contenders? Not winners, contenders to go to the Super Bowl. Which one is that? Reality, wishful thinking, or downright crazy?
I mean, it's not downright crazy, but it's definitely wishful thinking.
Okay.
Super Bowl winning, to win the Super Bowl.
To go to the Super Bowl.
To go to the Super I'll still give it wishful thinking.
Yeah?
Wishful thinking for me for that one. Now, NFC contender, I know we're going to do later. I'll have a different answer. But wishful thinking for Super Bowl appearance.
Okay. What do you say, Tom?
Yeah, it's tricky. I'll say wishful thinking as well. It goes both ways because the roster absolutely, I believe, is a Super Bowl contender, especially if those defensive guys, the young guys on defense, can take a step. And we know the experience with the coaching staff. This team also did lose 6 of their last 7 and get blown out by Baker Mayfield in the playoffs last time we saw him. So I can't go true Super Bowl contender as of right now.
Okay. So, Tom, I'll start with you since Amy already has her answer. As far as NFC contender, to win the NFC, are they going to be right there? Which would mean an appearance in the NFC Championship. Realistic, wishful thinking, downright crazy.
I think it's still wishful thinking, but it's a lot closer to realistic. For all the reasons I just said, we saw them lose 6 of their last 7. I don't love anyone in the NFC other than the 49ers. Packers, obviously, a very good team. Detroit's up there. But, I think the Eagles, if everything's clicking right, have just as good of a chance as any of those teams do. So I'll go wishful thinking because of what we saw last season, but I think it could be way closer to realistic.
I love what you said, if everything is clicking right, because we have to remember that last year, not everything was clicking right in the first 11 games of the season, and somehow they found a way to be 10-1. That's the sign of a winning team. Now, how it played out over those last 7 games is absolutely awful. And I said before they played that game against Tampa Bay, I said, I think they're the worst team in the NFL right now. And I really did believe it.
They were playing like it,
Yeah, I did believe that. But so, Amy, NFC contender.
Yeah, to be in the NFC Championship game, I think that's realistic.
Okay.
For me. Yeah.
All right.
I completely agree with what Tom was saying. Wishful thinking is probably maybe too strong, so it's probably somewhere in the middle, but I'll lean too much into it's realistic for this team, given the talent they have, given the offensive scheme that it looks like on paper should be very good. defense, yes, there's going to be some issues. All right, let's just outscore everybody. Let's just score more points. That's all. The whole name of the game anyway. Just try to limit it. The defense will be better. Of course, that's a low bar after the way that last season ended, but I think that they are a contender to win the NFC. I think that is a viable thing. So I will side with
that one.
Yeah, I'll side with Andrew on that one.
Okay. David in Mercer County has some thoughts on it. David, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
I agree with them completely, and I expect them to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. They are a better team than Detroit. They're a better team than Green Bay. There's only one team in this conference that even remotely looks like the Eagles. That's the 49ers. And if they have their defense straightened out, if it's even 50% better than it was last year, they're going to win 14 or 15 games. They're going to get home field. They're going to be in the Super Bowl. That offense is virtually unstoppable. With Saquon Barkley, it is. And I agree with the Christian McCaffrey analogy, except I think the Eagles are more skilled on the outside, or I shouldn't say more skilled. They're as skilled as the 49ers. And I think at quarterback, given all those weapons, I'll take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy for the next 20 years.
Now, there's the way you're speaking, David, the last 7 games of last season don't seem to – I know they bothered you in the results, but they don't seem to have a lasting effect with you.
They don't, because I saw in the first 11 games, I said they're 10-1 and that defense stinks. That secondary is the worst secondary I've ever seen, and when they get against quarterbacks that are acting that I was right, they had all kinds of problems.
All right, David, we're losing you there. Sorry about that. I don't know if I can be as 14, 15 wins so optimistically as David. I didn't want to go back and forth with him too much and get into that whole huge kind of argument thing. But, can you casually just say, yeah, the defense, even if they're 50% better? 50% better in anything is a hell of a lot better. That's a lot.
I think even if they're 25% better, it's a 13-win team.
Okay. I'm still looking at a team that doesn't have any linebackers.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at a team that...
I think they're a 12. I think I said 12 wins at the beginning of the season. I think you said 10 to 12.
10 to 12, yeah.
Of course, you gave us a range.
I'm sorry that disgusts you so much.
Give us a number.
I'm on Amy's side here, man. You can't, if you say 10, 11, that might be
But
a
I
little
never
bit
do
different.
that. I don't give scores
right.
to games. I don't, that's just
then
not...
I'll let it go.
I'll
let it go.
It's funny because the guy that just caught, he's like, it's a 14-15 game win.
Well,
and then he went and said, if this happens, if that happens, and if this happens. That's why I'm kind of more of a realist in that I say, I can't say the team's going to win 14 or 15 games and then have 3 butts after it.
Yeah, you don't know because injuries are a giant, question mark. You don't know if the teams that are all of a sudden, you penciled in as a W somehow turn out to be much better than what you expected.
Yeah.
I think he said, they're much better than Detroit. I don't know if they're much better than Detroit.
I'll tell you what, I don't know they're much better than anybody, of those top-tier NFC teams.
Detroit's a pretty good team.
Yeah, Detroit's that up-and-coming team that you want to be. It's the way you rise up. The Packers are rising up now under Jordan Love.
I think they could beat those teams, don't get me wrong. But I feel like the Niners are a team I'm like, okay, well, probably not on paper. Maybe until it's the postseason, because then they can probably beat them, because that's what they do.
Yeah, I could look at it and say, I think they're a 13-win team, but I'm sorry. Losing 6 of 7 and me calling them the worst team in the NFL at the end of last season, I can't make that jump right yet. And he's like, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, he turned the ball over 20 times last year. I can't forget about that either. I've said it over and over. I am still on the fence with Jalen Hurts. I've seen the good. I don't know where he is. Is he more towards last season for the rest of his career, or is he more towards 2022? 2022 was a hell of a season.
He's an MVP.
I mean,
he was a front runner for the MVP for most of the season.
If I would have said to you before the 2022 season, do you see him being more of and I described last season, or more of a MVP for a second-round pick that you're starting quarterback? I think most people would lean towards, a little bit better than mediocre, but MVP? No.
He burst onto the scene.
Yeah, he did. Now he's got a surrounding cast that is absolutely phenomenal. But all right, so let's look at some of the other teams in Philadelphia as far as expectations go. And I'll leave the labeling the same as we have it for that, and that is realistic, hopeful, or downright crazy. So I'm going to go to your Philadelphia 76ers, and I will go Eastern Conference contender. Realistic, hopeful, downright crazy.
I mean, they don't have anybody in their roster. So
Well,
I have to make up what the roster might look like in some semblance.
You have an idea of how much they can do, and Daryl Morey's saying that what
All
they
right.
want to do. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
They don't have it. I don't think Joel Embiid's going to go out and beat any team by himself. Right now, this roster would go 0-82.
So it's to win the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, contender. Eastern Conference contender.
Like
Realistic,
top one or two.
hopeful, downright crazy. I'll even go top 3.
Top 3. See, I'm going to stick with top 2 because they might be 3. Top 2 to play in the Eastern Conference Finals would be my idea of that's the Eastern Conference. I'm going to say that's wishful thinking,
Okay.
but reluctantly so. I feel like if they construct the roster as what they could do because they have so much open space and they have all kinds of stuff they can do, it's a possibility. So it's probably a little bit. But I mean, wishful thinking because you just don't know if all those pieces are going to be able to come together in a way that's going to result in that. I mean, you basically are building a roster from scratch. Save 2 players.
It's the first
3
time
players.
It's the first time I've ever said it, but it's I can say with 1,000% certainty, although there is no 100% certainty, if they field the roster that they have now, they will go 0-82.
That's
they
correct.
will not win
you
a
got
game.
Paul Reed and Ricky Council, so you'd only have 4 guys.
Well, Reed's not even.
It's not a guaranteed
It's not
contract.
fully guaranteed, but he's not like a free agent right now.
No, but I think
no.
they have to redo the contract.
Right.
Because the
That was-
contract.
He's got no guarantee.
No guarantee.
contract.
Regardless,
Right.
Ricky Council then is your third option.
There you go.
you're not
I don't
getting much.
think Joel Embiid and Ricky Council are going to go out and beat any NBA team. I call me crazy. Maybe that's downright crazy. I don't know. But what say you, Tom? Sixers being an Eastern Conference contender.
It might sound extreme. To me, it's downright crazy right now. Based on the history, this team's the last 7 years with Joel Embiid has not gotten to an Eastern Conference Finals. He's only getting older. I get it. Look, they build this team the right way. They trade for a couple pieces, bring back some guys, maybe get a third All-Star. Then they absolutely have a chance to do so. Based on the history and what I've seen, it would be downright crazy to call this team an Eastern Conference Finals contender when they haven't gotten there with Joel Embiid.
And
That's how I
that is still, after all these years, the number one story, that nobody has figured out how to build around Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Or
talk
how to get
about
past the second round.
We can talk about how talented he is, and Embiid's fantastic. I'm
He
not trying
is.
to take away anything from him. Tyrese Maxey, fantastic, going to get a great contract. We can talk about all the things that might happen with the Sixers. It's downright crazy because they haven't done it. Why would I believe they're going to do it when they've never done it before?
And it's also sight unseen, as you said, and Amy said, because there's so many things that have to be done still. But Amy, real quick, you talked about contract, the Tyrese
yes.
Maxey thing.
So it's interesting because I read the wording on the Woj had the tweet. It was Scotty Barnes. The deal was worth up to $270 million. So I'm sure there's incentives and stuff in there. And I wondered why there was such a big disparity because I remember the number for what Maxey could have gotten had he been an All NBA team member. It was $245.3 million.
Okay.
But he is not an All NBA team member, so he's only eligible for $204.4. So he did miss out on $40 million because of not, which is kind of crazy to think an All NBA team that's making any of them 1, 2, or 3 would tie that much percentage to your contract, a $40 million, what's a 20% type of cut on that, or almost 20%, 18%, or whatever it is. That was interesting to me because those are voted on by writers. So.
Don't you blame the writers for costing him $40 million, Amy
It's
Fadul?
interesting. Like that, there's bias inherent in those type of polls.
I used to vote on those things.
You would vote for the guys you knew, which I get. The guys you knew, as far as like you watch them. You didn't watch a lot of the Nuggets players, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, the way I did my voting was, in all honesty,
I meant familiar with them. Sorry.
But if you're, no, you're right. But if you're if I'm voting for first team all defensive team, well, of course you're going to see what everybody's saying about something. But if it came down to, oh man, I don't know who that fifth person should be. Is it Amy Fadul or is it Tom Alvord? I would call like a Tyrone Johnson and be like, hey, Ty, you're around these guys all the time. I would call some of the beat writers, or when I was in their cities, I'd grab some of the beat writers and say, what do you think? This is what we hear on the East Coast, but I don't see them play every day except for television and, when the two teams or the team I'm covering is playing them. That's hopefully it's an educated type of voting that you're doing.
It's just odd that that's connected.
When you're talking about $40 million, All right, let's move on to the Flyers. Okay, we had talk this morning with Jordan Hall about Matvei Michkov coming over, 19-year-old, supposed to be an organizational changing player. You're getting that. They have some nice young talent. We saw the start that they had last year. John Tortorella running everything. Is it realistic, hopeful, downright crazy? Flyers make the playoffs this coming season.
I think that's realistic.
Yeah?
They almost made it last year.
Yeah, they did. But did they overachieve a lot last year? Because I think that's the way a lot of people would label it.
I think they surprised some. I don't know if they overachieved.
Okay.
Because I think that takes on wow, they had no business in there. I thought they played pretty good hockey for a good chunk of the season and set themselves up in position to achieve what is possible. And so
that was surprising, right?
It was surprising that it came as early as it did.
Okay.
I thought maybe the team could come together because of the way that Tortorella structures his team and the practices, all this stuff. The team is going to come together and they'd have a later push. It was surprising that it came earlier in the way that everything kind of broke down and then the wheels fell off at the end. Goaltending really came back to bite them, as did the whole defense as a whole. But no, I think that's a realistic thing. If Matvei Michkov comes over and he's supposed to be who he is, why wouldn't you think you're going to make the playoffs when you almost made it last year?
Tom, same thing? Realistic to make the playoffs, or do you look at it more as hopeful?
Because it's early in the offseason, and I don't know necessarily what direction the Flyers are going to go with this Michkov news. They could very well keep the same team, Konechny's here and everything like that, and it's basically the same roster last season as it was this year. Add Matvei Michkov. Yeah,
and maybe take away Bobby Brink.
Yeah, sure. Then maybe it is realistic. Part of me is curious, do they kind of go more into this rebuild thing because Michkov's only 19 years old and they have him here to grow a little bit? So because it's the start,
blow up stuff.
Yeah, maybe they trade Konechny because the timeline fits better with the guy that they would get for him. So because it's the start of the offseason, I will say wishful thinking. If it's the same team towards the end of the offseason, I'm with Amy. Realistic.
All right, I'm going to go over to the Philadelphia Phillies now. Look, it's realistic they could win a World Series this year, so I'm not even going to mess around. Is it realistic? Do they get to the NLCS for a third straight season? I think we're all in agreement it's all realistic with the Phillies, right? Okay, yes. So I'm going to put this one to you. Is it realistic that in 5 years from now we look at this Phillies run as a dynasty?
That's a good one. Wow.
Realistic, hopeful, downright crazy.
Does the dynasty start in 2022?
Sure.
Okay.
And you know what dynasties have to include? Yeah. A championship or two.
For me, a dynasty is multiple, at least two championships.
Okay.
Very least multiple championship appearances, multiple World Series.
They win a World Series. They've lost in a World Series. They've gotten to an NLCS. Let's say they win one. They win a World Series, and they, get to another NLCS.
So if in that span they have two World Series, that would be
appearances and one win.
Yeah, that would give. Oh no, I need another World Series for a dynasty.
Okay,
I agree. I'm 2 World Series for a dynasty or 2 championships to.
Okay, so where does it fall? Realistic, hopeful, downright crazy.
Realistic. I think it is realistic.
Okay.
I like the way this team is constructed.
And hell, we just rebuilt their roster. I mean, this morning we went through the contracts that they need to give out. We came up with great numbers.
And I think they think it's realistic too. And by they, I mean both the players and the front office. And I think they're going to do everything they can to capitalize on it. This is not like trying to catch 08 in a bottle again, like you saw in 2012, and holding on to maybe some players too long. I think that they realize there's smart moves to be made, and they've done that. Yeah, I think it is realistic.
I think it's a win now with win tomorrow too.
Let's go.
I do. I think so also. What do you say, Tom?
It would be unfair for me to take the history on the Sixers conversation against the Sixers here.
And not apply it to the Phillies.
Because they haven't won one yet, I will say wishful thinking. They win it this year. I think it's absolutely realistic. Because this team is built to win now. This team is on a great run the past couple years. They can absolutely do it. I do need to see one before I can say dynasty, though.
Okay. Yeah. Totally agree with you. All right. Fun little exercise we had there. All right. So I wanted to bring up something to you guys. There's something happening in sports tonight. And I have labeled it earlier I want to ask a question off of that because it's three of my favorite words in sports. I also want to know if maybe you have other favorites. I'll explain all that and a whole lot more. Plus, we have some texts from you about the Phillies, the Sixers, about wine. This is all pretty cool. If you have anything you want to talk to us about, 610-632-0975. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back as we take you up to the best show ever at 2 o'clock today. As you got Tyrone, Ricky, and Sarah.
This is why she doesn't like our show.
Whatever her name is, that
Not
blonde-haired girl. Yeah, the one that hates Ray Dunn for some reason. She'll be producing that show, so we'll take you right up until that. I do have to tell you, Aim, that this hour, the 1 o'clock hour,
Great hour.
It's brought to you by Ferguson HVAC, Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. All right, I teased it before, and I want to bring up, we just got some all-star voting numbers, so we're going to bring them to you. But I mentioned, what's your favorite thing that doesn't involve a team you follow? Your favorite sporting event that doesn't involve a team you follow? Because mine's coming up tonight, and it's 3 words, Hockey Game 7. And tonight just so happens to be going for, the Stanley Cup. Another leg in B Guns, Brandon Gunn's
that's right.
ride to
Parlay.
$46,000 off of $1. So we're rooting for Brendan on that one. But do you have an event? Maybe it is. Maybe it is Game 7 hockey. I don't know. But is there an event that no matter if your team is in it or not, you absolutely love? And there's obvious answers, but maybe it's...
You gave me words, so I came up with words.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have a team in it, but it's still like a sport that I pay attention to. Like when they have like the really good goal celebration, if I'm watching a random soccer match, like I don't even care who it is. You know what I mean? The excitement you hear from that, like the goal, like he just goes on forever. I could look up, and I have no idea who's playing. I don't know anybody about either side, but I'm like, I'm interested.
That's
like
cool.
I'm always into like that because their excitement, especially like certain whether it's European or wherever, I feel like they really get into those calls. Like
Yeah.
It's a
They
big-time
do.
call.
No question. You have one, Tom?
I have 4.
Oh, 4 words
he's
or
gonna-
4
words.
examples?
He's going to
Four
hog the
words.
mic. Okay,
Yeah.
we only have
Go.
till 2, so...
First round March Madness. There's nothing better than the opening weekend, Thursday, Friday as well. I'll count as that weekend. The opening weekend of March Madness. And I'm not even huge into college basketball. I kind of gotten out of it the last 5 so years.
Only because they forced you.
Yeah, the one and dones. I used to love college basketball. It was right up there with one of my favorite things to watch as a kid. Gotten out of it, but regardless of me not really following anyone, not having a school, love that opening weekend.
That's a good one.
That's one. Oh, that's 4 words.
four
it
words.
was. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
I'm
thought
not-
you said you had 4 altogether also. I'm sorry.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Too much.
All right, that's not. But yeah, Game 7 tonight. Edmonton at Florida. Edmonton's won the last 3 games. Sergei Bobrovsky, our former friend here, Bob, he didn't show up to practice yesterday because things aren't going well in his head. So we'll see how that all plays out. I keep thinking of the movie Slapshot, which neither one of you saw, I'm sure.
No.
Yeah, I've seen Slapshot.
Oh, have you?
It's been a while, but I've seen it.
Okay, so when Paul Newman and he decides to get in the goalie's head, Hanrahan, and he starts chirping him up to him, and it's hysterical. The goalie loses his bleep. I imagine some Edmonton Oilers might be doing that to Sergei tonight.
Yes.
So we'll see how it all plays out. All right, we have some voting numbers as far as Major League Baseball goes, Amy Fadul. You have the numbers in front of you. I was going to quiz you, but I can't now because you've already cheated. Well, you didn't cheat because you didn't know I was going to do it this way. But we will start at catcher.
I closed it.
Oh, well, but you have that photographic memory, so that doesn't help. At catcher, your JT Real Muto, a little bit over 1 million votes. He is in second place.
I like that.
Yes. He will not be appearing at the All-Star game.
No,
I don't
but it'd be
imagine.
nice to get a nod.
It would be nice to get a nod. I assume he's going to come back after the All-Star break. But Milwaukee's William Contreras is number 1 in voting with close to 1.5 million. JT Real Muto second. Tom, you okay with that voting there?
Yeah, fine with that. He's been great all season long. But not going to make it because he said the injury, but it's good to get recognized.
I was surprised. I thought Will Smith, Dodgers catcher,
Sure.
he might be. I was surprised he wasn't ahead of JT Real Muto. But a lot of people that don't know players will vote for that number 1 team, and that's what the Phillies are. At second base, Bryson Stott, third. To Marte, who was just here with the Diamondbacks this week, and I like him.
He's a nice player.
He is a very nice player. He's at 1.18 million votes. Second is Arias from the Padres. I got to tell you.
Wait. Luis Arias.
I always
Just
mispronounce
Arias.
his name.
Just Arias.
There you go.
Arias.
You'll get there.
I meant to do these numbers the other day. When he came in to hit against the Phillies, he was hitting 344.
Also, like a tremendous player coming in. That Padres lineup should be so much better than they are.
It should be. But I forgot to. He was 0 for 8 in that series.
Was he really?
I forgot to. I'll have to go back and do it. But I meant to when I was doing preparation for the show that morning. I was like, what did Arias hit in this series? Because I know he was 0 for 8. And it was like a day or two after the series was done. I think his average went from 344 and dipped down to the 320s when he was here against the Phillies. I think he might have taken an 0-4 on that. But we go to third. I don't want to go outfielders just yet. So let's move over to first base.
First base.
The Phillies have a pretty good one.
Yeah, I believe he's the top vote getter in all of the National League.
He is the top vote getter in all of the National League, and that is Bryce Harper with over 2 million votes, trailed by the Dodgers' Freddie Freeman, who has 1.3 million. Matt Olson, I'll tell you what, first base is pretty cool in the National League.
Some really good players.
Yeah, I can't stand Pete Alonso as just a fan looking in. I don't know Pete Alonso a little bit, but he's fourth. So Bryce Harper will wrap up, be your starting first baseman. Third base.
The second most votes.
Second most votes. This is incredible.
Right?
Now, it used to be back in the day, like when I was a kid, you would see teams that had long homestands. You'd be like, wait, why is this Padres second baseman up there? Like, nobody even knows who. If you had long homestands, the voting on paper would be a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you get the little slips and all that stuff. But Alec Boehm is number one at third base with 1.96. Is that 6 or an 8? 1.9 something million votes.
1.960.
1.96. Manny Machado from the Padres is second with 545,000. He's like 1.4 million ahead of Manny Machado. Now, is that great sports knowledge by baseball fans
or it's really good marketing also by the Phillies? I mean, they put it out on their Twitter, and all the teams do. They put it out on their social media accounts. They give you the link. There's like promotions like, hey, double vote day type of vibe, things like that. I don't know if they've done a double vote day, but they're putting it out there. They have all the advertisements at the games during the broadcasts, and listen, it's a really good team, so there's people voting for them.
Yeah, and I really don't have a problem with Alec Boehm being there. It's surprising he's 1.4 million ahead of Machado,
second leading vote getter in all of the National League, second to Harper. That's maybe I'm like, wow.
That is crazy.
Yes.
All right, you go to designated hitter. I don't think you can argue with number one. I'm surprised number one isn't the leading vote getter because of all the how much people like. But Shohei Ohtani is number one with 1.7, almost 1.8 million votes. Ozuna from the Braves is second, and then third, our Mr. June.
Yes.
Kyle Schwarber.
So he was fourth?
Fourth is Rhys Hoskins from the Brewers, but way behind.
Yes.
Ohtani's going to win it at 1 point, almost 8 million.
Schwarber's like right in there behind Ozuna, though.
Yeah, Ozuna's at 940,000. Schwarber's at 880,000. So you have all that going on. In the outfield, you have to go down to number 5 to get a Philadelphia Philly.
Yes, you went right over him.
Number 5,
you went right over him.
Brandon Marsh. He can't even play every day for the Phillies, but he's getting over a million votes.
They love Beardo.
Yeah, so leading vote getters are at 1.6.5 million.
Again,
for the outfield.
Like, look how many Padres are all over
Profar,
this list.
Profar, Yelich, and Hernandez are your top 3. Tatis goes 4.
Yeah.
Marsh at 5 with over a million votes. So he's only about 600,000 behind Profar. Then you go number 6, Nick Castellanos at 857,000.
Do you see who's 7?
Number 7. Yeah, he's ahead of Cody Bellinger and the likes. Johan Rojas.
It's center field.
Not on the Phillies.
You know,
I'm telling you, it's a great campaign. They've got it's
way to go. We applaud the Phillies.
Vote you, and these are also really good players. It's not like they're like.
Oh no, no, but I mean the fact that Johan Rojas is ahead of anybody in the outfield, and
he's a good defensive outfielder.
You have 2 outfielders on the Phillies who don't even play every day. One who's not even with the team anymore, and they're in the top 5, 6, 7.
Good stuff.
So there you have it. There's your National League voting. Safe to say that Bryce Harper will be your starting first baseman, and that Alec Boehm will be your starting third baseman for this year's National League All-Star team. All right, quickly, we'll go through it. Who else is on the team for the Phillies? I'll let you two go back. Well, no, start with Tom. I'll give one. Amy, I'll let you go after Tom, and then I'll go third. Tom, give me another All-Star from the Phillies besides Bowman Harper.
I will say Jeff Hoffman has been fantastic, closing a lot of games for the Phillies. Well deserved.
Okay, Jeff Hoffman. Where do you go?
The Ranger.
Oh, man, why'd you take mine?
Oh, you let me go second. I'm sorry.
I did because I was trying to be gentlemanly.
Sorry.
So you go Ranger Suarez. I'm going to go Matt Strom.
Yeah, that was my other one.
That's 5 that we have there.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler has to be up there, who I think his odds are better than Ranger Suarez when it comes to the Cy Young, which is crazy with how good he's been. Zach Wheeler's got to be there too, right?
That's 6. Last year, the Braves had 8 when they busted out to a really good start at the All-Star break. We can say that's it. You don't have to force anybody else on there.
Yeah, I think that there was probably an outside chance that JT was going to be it, but no.
Yeah.
How about Christopher Sanchez, number 3 in ERA in NL?
Not bad.
No. But I like
agree.
the idea.
I agree, but it's like he could be there,
He could
top
be.
3 in the NL.
He could be.
Nola's exploded in his last 2 outings.
Yeah,
That
there's
ERA
guys
has
that-
climbed.
I think there's some more guys in the pen that might garner consideration.
Give me Orion Kirkering every day, Aim.
I love a Kirkering.
So
that was
do
a guy
I.
that comes up. He's done after this year. We were talking about contracts,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, he is.
The
He's
guy that
another one.
I would sign.
Oh, yeah. What number do you give him?
I give a longer, I would think about a 4-year deal.
He's 22 years old, I believe.
So
I read
young.
it when we were doing it. 22. Yeah, here's 5 and 30.
20? Yeah.
20 I would give 20. I'd start at
Okay.
20.
Start him a little
Give him
lower.
30. 5-year,
not my money.
$150 million.
I don't
Orion
care.
Kirkering. Wow.
You get $100 million, and you get
Right.
$100 million.
Listen, John Middleton's like, whatever, let's do it.
Why not? All right, we get back. We're going to close things up. We're leading you up to the best show ever. Tyrone, Ricky, and that blonde-headed girl who is the producer that doesn't like Ray Dunn. So we'll see. I think she's here. I saw a huge hoagie sitting at her desk. Like, it looked absolutely disgusting, so I assume she's here. So,
I did not know where you're going.
yeah, we'll close this thing out when we get back. This is Middays Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back as we close things out here on Midday Show. Thanks to Amy Fadul for being here today.
Thank you.
She was so good today that I said to her, you know what? You're cool to come back tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, so we got
Pass
Amy
the test.
tomorrow. Tom will be with us once again. I totally messed up. It's not the first time. It won't be the last, as you'll find out on Friday around 1:30. But I totally skipped the shortstop position on the All-Star voting.
You went from second base to, hey, let's go check out first base.
Yeah, my fault.
That's okay.
I apologize.
Got
So
you, though.
you got my back, and this makes for a 7th Philly that we should put on our All-Star roster, Tom. But go ahead.
Trey
Voting.
Turner. So Trey Turner is second shortstop voting. Mookie Betts, no surprise, is first with 1.68, almost 1.7. But as everyone very well knows, he is currently on the IL. So if the voting holds, that would be Trey Turner's spot in the All-Star game. The next place, which would be third, tremendous player. Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds, just one of the best athletes you're going to see on the baseball.
So fun to watch.
Just super fun.
Yeah.
Supremely athletic. He has just under 600,000. So those guys, they've almost lapped him at this point. So I think that there's Trey Turner.
Yeah, he'll be there.
Pencil him in.
Yes,
for
we
the
can.
All-Star.
We can certainly do that. Pencil that.
Also-
in. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Has not skipped a beat since he's returned. He misses 6 weeks with a hamstring injury.
Right?
He's looked fantastic since he's been back.
Yeah, there's a couple times like when he would be running around. I feel like I'm watching him. Like, okay, what are we gonna do? Nope. Okay, looks okay to me.
I think he's got a hit in every game since he's returned, too. He's been
Impressive.
Yeah, also great because of our dislike. How about Edwin Diaz from the New York
Yeah.
Mets? Yeah, he gets suspended for 10 games because he had a foreign substance found on his hand, was it? I didn't.
great. On his glove, I think it was.
Oh, was it on his glove? It says here on his hand.
Oh.
So maybe it was on his glove and then they found it on his hand. He's the 8th pitcher suspended for sticky stuff. I love the way this is written. For sticky stuff since MLB cracked down on pitchers
Started
attempting
doing
to
the
use
actual-
foreign substances.
I'm-
yeah. 10-game suspension.
I do like that they actually found something because I feel like those are such cursory checks sometimes. Like, okay, here we go. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, did you ever see the thing on Twitter? The security
Yeah,
guard
just
at
like-
Eagles games, guy's like, "Yeah, go ahead."
You're
He
fine.
doesn't even touch the person. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
good.
you're good. Go ahead. But so I feel bad for the Mets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
That's good. You
I
almost
have to
had me
text-
there.
I have to text my cousin. Speaking of texts, Tom,
Yes.
let's get to the ones that we had. Don't worry, I'll speak slowly so you can get back to them.
No, I got it. We're
All
good.
right, he is the man. He's
got it.
way better than. Oh, never mind. It's only the first
Thank
day.
you for saying so.
We'll
It's good
go
to
there
hear.
later.
I know it, but it's good to hear. Thank you. We got one here. No name, unfortunately, but they say, I think we need to calm down on the Michkov talk until he's actually on American soil. 2 years ago, just when we thought Ivan Fedotov was coming over here, the Russian government sent him to the gulag. So let's wait and see how it plays out with Michkov. And it's from Brady in Norristown.
Yeah, he needs to actually come over.
Yeah,
you need to arrive stateside.
I read a tweet that was similar. Maybe it was him also, but like somebody did allude to, he might go disappearing. It is Russia after all. So obviously, hopefully nothing like that happens. We got another one, Tom?
Yeah, we got one here real quick from Jim in Delray Beach. In a Bridges trade, Mikal Bridges with the Nets, what if they ask you to take Ben Simmons, who is in the last year of his contract?
Yes.
Would you do it? $40 million.
Ssure. That's not happening.
Because they asked if you would.
Maybe he'll come back here and remember how to play basketball. No.
Maybe a one two play basketball.
No, you can't do that deal.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, give us the last one with the wine, though.
Last one real quick. Bob, sommeliers are globally trained wine experts. That's even greater than USA recognized wine trained experts. They can identify the year or location of the grapes in the wine. That's Josh from Burlington, who also says he's a home brewer as well.
Ah, way to go, Josh. Yeah, Amy basically told me I'm too stupid.
I just didn't know why you would want to go to that much education after you're like,
You need a hobby.
retirement. Well, that's a lot of time.
If you had free time, what are some of the things I want to learn? I want to take cooking classes because I love to cook, so I wanted to learn to cook even better. And I think I want to learn to play the piano and the guitar.
Oh, okay.
I should have taken piano lessons when I was a kid because I had a good ear for piano, but like a vacation, my parents couldn't afford one, so I couldn't do that either. But
You can do it on the internet now.
Well, that's no
Never
fun.
too late.
No, I want that old lady from the Wedding Singer to teach me how to play the piano.
Pay meatballs.
Exactly. Well, listen, thanks so much for joining us today. The three of us will be back tomorrow,
Yeah.
same time, same channel. Hope you join us then. Stay tuned for the best show ever coming up next.